Hey, live streamers and YouTubers, how's it going? It's me, Dennis, producer of the Ben Joravsky Show. Thank you for joining us. And if you're watching the live stream video right now, do you notice something's missing? Yeah, look over there. No Ben Joravsky. We got our editor, Leah, here. Yeah, but no Ben Joravsky. Where's the host? And no, he's not hiding under the table. Our host, Ben Joravsky, actually attended a media event this afternoon. He's at the City Club of Chicago, ooh la la, fancy Ben, and joining a discussion panel with other Chicago media bigwigs on what Mayor Lori Lightfoot should do in her first 100 days as mayor. And people, not only did they just not shove him in the back room of this event, they actually invited him to speak on stage. And you know, we got to get our name out there and get publicity for the show in whatever way we can. So I made Ben go. Ben begrudgingly went, so awesome, Ben. Thank you. But do not worry, the event should be ending about now. Ben is going to hop in a cab or maybe ride his bike because he's Ben Joravsky. Of course, he may have rode his bike to a discussion panel, wearing a blazer, wearing a bike. He'll be on his way to the studio in moments. And guess what? We're still going to bring you today's Ben Joravsky Show, okay? It's just going to be a little different for the live streamers this afternoon, all right? We will be starting today's live Ben Joravsky Show with guests Monroe Anderson and Sun-Times City Hall reporter Ray Hanania. I believe I pronounced that right, probably. Ray Hanania at 2 o'clock, less than an hour. Now, this is the point where I bet you think, you live streamers, you think I'm going to tell you to get lost and come back at 2 o'clock to listen to the show. Well, hey, if you think that, boy, you couldn't be more wrong. That's rude. Why would we do that? We wouldn't do that. You tuned in for content. We're going to give you content, all right? So until Ben gets here, I'm going to play something that is not offered on YouTube. It's one of our Benny J weekend bonus interviews. We've been doing these weekend bonus interviews for a couple months now. We enjoy them, and if you've yet to check them out, I think you'll enjoy them as well. We'll make it fun too, all right? I have 2 Benny J bonus interviews here ready to play, and since there are you people listening on the live stream right now, and since I can communicate with you all on the live stream chat room, I'm going to let you live streamers decide. That's right, live streamers' choice here. I'll read the descriptors for both interviews, then you weigh in on our YouTube live stream chat on which one you want to hear. We'll play the winner. Sound good? Good. All right, cool. Let's do this. Let me open up the chat room. All right, cool. Once again, if you're listening live, help out and weigh in on the chat. Pick whichever interview you want to hear. Your first Benny J Show interview. Oh, I'm feeling the suspense. Are you? All right, the first one. He was a senator, an alderman, and now a radio host. It's Hollywood Ricky Hendon, recreational reefer, Lightfoot versus Preckwinkle, 2020 POTUS talk, Lori and Ivanka, spoiler, it's a little dated, and so much more, including tons of hilarity with the one and only Ricky Hollywood Hendon. So, former state Senator Ricky Hendon is option number 1. Time for number 2. Cue the suspenseful music. Thank you. Your second Benny J bonus interview is a timely piece. It's one from a couple days back. Monday, May 20th marked the inauguration of Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Ben sat down with 2 of the people who were in the Lightfoot campaign from the beginning and helped make it happen. It's political strategist Joanna Klonsky and political poster Jason McGrath breaking down what went down and how Lori Lightfoot became mayor of Chicago. So, former state senator Hollywood Ricky Hendon or Joanna Klonsky and Jason McGrath of the Lori Lightfoot campaign. Those are your choices. If you're listening live, go to the chat room and weigh in. Give you some time by reminding you that you can find our Benny J bonus interviews at both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites, chicago.suntimes.com/Joravsky and chicagoreader.com. Look for the Ben Joravsky Show at the top of the page or wherever else you download your favorite podcast. Once again, people, I made Ben go to a media event to plug our show. He should be on his way back now. Hopefully he didn't ride his bike. That would be weird. Today's live Ben Joravsky Show will be starting at 2 o'clock this afternoon, but live streamers do not go anywhere because we are about to find out which Benny J bonus interview we're about to play. Let me jump over to the live stream real quick and take a look here. Okay. Just one person so far. Shout out to Pat Rod. Thank you very much, Pat Rod. Pat Rod's going Ricky Hendon. Head over to the Ben Joravsky Show live stream chat if you're listening live right now. Senator Ricky Hendon or our interview with Lightfoot campaign members Joanna Klonsky and Jason McGrath breaking down how exactly Lori Lightfoot went from who to, oh yeah, her. I know her. Give you a little more time here. Looking on the chat. All right, so far it's just Pat Rod, and Pat Rod's going Ricky Hendon. So I think that's what we're going to do. Okay, we're doing it. Our interview with Ricky Hendon, everybody. So enjoy this. This is about 47 minutes long. What I'll do here is I'll jump in maybe about a half hour in, maybe give you some news, call up Ben, see where he's at. I don't know. All right, so here we go. It's our interview one-on-one, Ricky Hendon. A little bit of foul language in this interview here, but damn entertaining if you ask me. Very funny, hilarious, Ricky Hendon. Oh, wait. Let me turn that. That's our live chat right now. Hold on. Okay, there we go. All right, everybody. Ricky Hendon, enjoy. Oh, wait. I just realized something. I don't know if that's going to be able to play through there, so hang tight with me, guys. And we'll give you more time. Ricky Hendon or Joanna Klonsky with Jason McGrath, Lightfoot campaign members. Let me pull it up here. So far, it's Ricky Hendon. Oh, okay. I think it's the results are in. It's for sure going to be Ricky Hendon. I just got to go online and upload it here. My bad, guys. Like I said here, 2 o'clock, the Ben Joravsky Show is going to be starting. Ben went to a media event. I made him go. You know, we need the publicity, guys. Anything we can get. We're a podcast. We're not on the radio anymore, all right? You can't just turn us on in your car for free. So, yeah, we're getting that publicity, all right? So let me look for our Ricky Hendon interview. Just 1 second, and I'll grab it. Fantastic interview with Ricky Hendon. Let me see. Okay, here it is. And all right, everybody, enjoy.
Hello, everybody. Ben Joravsky here, and this is bonus time. One more time, bonus time. So as I speak, it's Friday, but you're going to hear this on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday because it's downloading, it's podcasting, it's just exists forever. All right, now, let me explain this. Before I got this gig at the Sun-Times and the Reader, Ben Joravsky Show right here at the Sun-Times, I had a radio show on a radio station on the northwest side of Chicago. I can't remember the name of it. It'll come to me later as I sit here thinking. They didn't like the job I was doing for whatever reason, and they said, hey, son, come here. Get out of here. And they kicked me out, man. They fired me. It was a Thursday night, and they said, leave, don't come back. And I haven't been back since. And that hurts me on many levels. Got a lot of friends that work at that station. I won't mention their names because they're good people. We still love you. This man here, Ricky Hendon, has a show every Saturday. I love the man's show dearly. The man, Ricky Hendon, knows more about Chicago politics then I don't know who knows more about Chicago politics than Ricky Hendon. He was an alderman. He was a state senator. He ran Willie Wilson's mayoral campaign. He's infuriates a lot of young activists because he kicks them off the ballot. And Ricky and I don't see eye to eye on ballot access, but he's a political strategist, and he's a talk show host at WCPT. I'll say the name of the station. So anyway, it took a while, but I've invited him to my show. I love this man dearly. Ricky Hendon, hey, welcome to the Ben Joravsky Show.
I couldn't be sitting across from a better guy. You know what I'm saying? Podcasts, you know, it's wonderful, man, just to see you, man.
Yeah, no,
you know what I'm saying?
Survived.
and I think we agree on politics, on access to the ballot more than you think. You know what I mean? Because you do want the letter of the law to be followed.
Okay.
So if somebody files, like one time there was a group.
Yeah.
They filed 40,000 petitions, Ben, to be on the ballot, right, for governor. 40,000.
Okay.
But when you got after page 100, it was like 400 blank pages.
All right.
Now, should they be rewarded for that or kicked the off the bat.
All right, look. By the way, you're a podcast. I just want to tell you a little different than the radio station. You could have said the word. You didn't have to. You could have said the word. Nothing will happen.
Well, kiss my ass. I'm doing a podcast with Ben Joravsky. Don't get no better than this.
All right.
And let me say this though. I got to say this.
Yeah.
Without you, I would have never had my show on that unmentioned station, WCPT.
Okay. Yeah.
I would have never had my show. You actually had me on as a guest, and I came on, had such a freaking good time, man.
Yeah.
I had to say, I got to do this again. Because I had a show before, as you know.
Right.
It had been years. I just wasn't doing it. And you brought it out, man. So if I screw up over there, it's your fault.
Okay.
America, it's because of Ben Joravsky.
Well, maybe we'll bring him over here. All right. Anyway,
Just got back from Springfield.
All right.
I don't know why I told you that, but I thought that was in there somewhere. Did you ask me?
Yeah, I got that. We haven't got to that yet. There's a lot. I have a whole list of things that I want to talk about with you, Ricky. Springfield, what you were doing in Springfield is on the list, but it's been so long since we've had a political conversation. Let's just start with the mayor's race. I know it happened at April 3rd, so almost a month has gone past.
But she gets sworn in on the 20th.
Yeah, so it's right around here.
It's right here.
All right, so everybody knows that Ricky Hennon was the chief political strategist for Willie Wilson, so you did not endorse either of the candidates who were in the runoff, Tony Preckwinkle or Lori Lightfoot. Did you yourself stay neutral in that mayor's race, the showdown?
I stayed neutral, and I'm always straight up blunt and honest with people. I think it's one of the best things I did to a large degree in my relationship politically, because I raised my prices, Ben. And it was as simple as that. Some days you raise your prices and that's your price. And if you don't stick with that, then you'll be a bum the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? People just roll over you. Hey, take this. And no. Both sides, I think, weren't treating me fairly. We won 16
in other words, both sides wanted your services.
I talked to both sides. Of course, with Willie being with Lori, that was my preference. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm his guy. Just got off the phone with him 5 minutes before the show started. Talked to him all day today. It drives me crazy talking to Willie Wilson. But I love him. His checks clear the bank. You know what I mean? And
he signs the front of them.
I beg your pardon? And
Willie Wilson signs the front of his checks.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
And I told Dr. Wilson when he was imploring me to help Lori and come ahead, it wasn't her. I love her. Some of her people had a few issues with them, whatever. And the bottom line was the money. I think people deserve the truth from people in the political business. And I'm a consultant. I charge. And I told Willie, how could I, as much as I love you, charge anybody less than I charge you? You know what I'm saying? I had a conflict with that. And I told them I can't charge you less than I charge Willie. Yeah. I love Willie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So it's a business.
Yeah, and I actually love Willie. I work for Willie for less than other people, but I charge him a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm the best, and I'm not boasting, but if I'm the best consultant in town, many people tell you that, when you say, do it all. We knock them off the ballot. We knock on the doors. We do the radio. We write ads. If I'm one of the best, pay me like you pay Casper and some of the other names. I don't have to get into all their names. Michael Casper, what Mike made. Mike told me Ricky, what are you doing? You charged them what? He said, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Casper, and I love him. He told me one day he would have got about $40,000 more than I got for a job I did. He was like, you're crazy. And he says, you're making it bad for all of us consultants. But we're not going to lower our prices. Yeah. But we have to have that conversation with people. They say, well, Ricky only charged me $10,000. Well, they get 40.
All right. So then it was.
So I stayed neutral.
You stayed neutral. You stayed out of it. When you watched that race unfold, how long did it take you before you realized that Lori Lightfoot was going to win?
I knew immediately the night Willie did not win who was going to win.
How'd you know?
I just know. I mean, I have that intuition. I know a lot about politics. I know people were not going to vote for Tony. They were just some people vote for or against people in politics, and they were just not going to vote for the same old, same old. They want change. And me and you off air, we're talking about nationally, and we'll get to a presidential. What I think people want change, and I just knew. So I could have took Lori's money and a little less, and sat around and knew what the results were going to be, but I'm not made like that either. I would have worked my butt off. And I'm glad, Ben, that I didn't, because a lot of my creative juices came back flowing with the recreational marijuana and other things that I'm doing. while I would have been stuck at a campaign office pulling my hair out, dealing with West Side folk and South Side folk, and all of them want to know why they're not getting paid as much money as somebody else is getting paid, and why they got to turn in this paperwork that nobody else. You know what I mean? Running campaigns drive you crazy. Mm-hmm. You can't sleep, you drink a lot, you get the recreational marijuana if you can find it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Man, so that month or 2 months, 6 weeks, my brain came back. My health came back. Ben, I'm 2-1 in softball so far in the season.
Ricky Hendon has a softball a long time at Washington Park, and he may have been the only politician at the time who was joining the crusade against the Olympics because he plays softball at Washington Park. They would have obliterated your softball diamonds.
It's like, you got to be kidding. You have 40 teams out there, black guys, 20, 25 on a team, not committing crime. You know what I mean? And I keep it real. A lot of the guys who play softball are from the streets. Yeah. A lot of them do bang a little bit. You know what I mean? But that's one day for 6-7 hours. We can try to talk to them in between the game after we beat their butt, of course. Like, come here, homie, da-da-da-da. Yeah. And they're not, and a lot of good comes out of 16-inch softball, believe it or not. And I was just upset that they would take those diamonds for an Olympics that never even happened.
Yeah, well, it didn't happen. But isn't you the team that before the game you get to, or maybe it's a rock star? What's the little saying that you guys have when you put your hands in the middle? Party like a rock star.
Now I'm on the West Side Outlaws though.
Oh, you're not on that.
1, 2, 3, West Side. And we're in the South Side Park, right? So we got some big balls, right?
Okay.
South Side umpires, they cheat the hell out of us. We win anyway.
Man, that West Side team, they're not playing 12-inch. They're playing 16-inch, if you know what I mean. Yeah. All right. So, the softball thing, that you get to keep playing the softball. All right. Now, speaking of West Side, South Side, in the middle of that mayoral race, God, there's so much happened that I haven't talked to you about. Bobby Rush lost his freaking mind. And basically said it'd be blood on the hands of absolutely everybody who votes for Lori Lightfoot. God forbid if someone was killed by a cop. When you heard that happen, what were your thoughts?
Before that, Bobby had endorsed Daley. So when Bobby endorsed Daley, I was done. You know what I mean? Nothing else could come out. You can't say nothing else that's, you know what I mean? when he endorsed Daley, I was just done. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to just kind of leave it at that. Yeah. But when he endorsed, I just... Ben, I am. I'm so serious about change and about what we have to do, and to say that Lori has changed, and I want to give her opportunity to serve as mayor, to come in and turn this city around. I think she can do it. She has golden opportunity. And I'm going to give her that opportunity. Right. So I was done with him.
All right. It was a low moment for Bobby Rush. Now, Lori was pictured the other day in the newspaper. I know you're going to be talking about this on your show with Ivanka Trump at the White House. Interesting pairing, Ivanka Trump and Lori Lightfoot. Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of the city of Chicago, goes to Washington, goes to the White House. Why would they have her sit down with the president's daughter? I don't understand it. Please explain that to me, Ricky. Why? She's not even an official Ivanka Trump.
Let me put it like this. The president of the United States of America is on something, Ben. I don't know what. Yeah. I don't know where it came from. He's on something. Yeah. And it ain't nothing. It ain't the good stuff either. He done found some whack stuff in the basement somewhere, man.
It's not the good recreational stuff.
This is crazy. Yeah. It is so. I know. I don't even do Trump a lot lately because it's every day. It's every week. It's every day. It's something new. Now we're about to go into war with Iran. Stop playing. Yeah. Stop playing. This is life and death. So with Lori. When Willie Wilson said he voted for Trump or would meet with Trump, he called hell. But Lori is the mayor. The man is the president. Yeah. If she can get something out of him for Chicago, it's really her job to try.
Absolutely.
It's just weird why he would have her meet with.
Thank you.
That's just an insult, in my opinion. When I saw it, I was like, okay, where is he? Yeah. So to me, he insulted the new mayor of the city of Chicago.
Yeah, it was just a very bizarre thing.
And I think the mayor was in position of what can she do turn around and go home, or talk with the daughter and hope that she can have some influence on the dad.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. Did she never met with Trump while she was there?
No, she met with Ivanka, and then the next day she came back, and there were these 2 lower level White House aides whose names I did not recognize. They were in the paper. They were in the Sun Times, and I didn't recognize them. I don't know who they are. I think they were like the urban affairs aides. And are there any black people in the White House anymore?
I don't think so.
I'm trying to think. Ben Carson.
Yeah, Ben Carson's the only one I can think.
Yeah.
Is he black?
Stop. That's Ricky Hendon who said that, not Ben Joravsky.
I mean, come on, man.
Ricky, I remember. Oh my God,
Are any black people in the White House? Oh, there is one. What's Kanye's wife name?
Oh, Kardashian?
Yeah.
She's Kim Kardashian.
Yeah,
Kim, yeah, that's her. That's the only one.
Ricky Hendon had a riff. It was when Trump was insulting Puerto Rico. I was driving in the car. It was a Saturday afternoon. I was laughing so hard. He goes, Donald Trump actually said, Puerto Rico's an island surrounded by water. And Ricky's like, what other kind of island is there?
Listen, this president, he's tweeted the other day.
Yeah.
I mean, if I begged the White House to just take his phone.
Yeah.
Take his freaking phone. You know, come on, man. Listen, I'm a political advisor, right?
Yeah.
This is what we do. Then it's where we're like, hey, listen, you know your candidate, right? You know this person, your candidate, is an absolute lunatic, right? You know that.
Yeah.
But you got to try to talk to him. So I'm sure they're having these conversations with Donald Trump. Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President. He's still not saying anything. Sir, could you please take your hand away from the button?
Wait, let me ask you this. Let's play devil's advocate with you. Maybe that's the best thing he's got going. That Twitter account of his feeds right into the brains.
I didn't think about that.
You know, it's like,
you might have without that, he'd have no outlet.
Yeah,
it would all boil over.
Yeah, that's his outlet.
I got a theory on something about Tiger Woods and why he did what he did with Tiger Woods.
What is that?
I better stay away from that.
No. I want to hear what's the theory.
I better stay away. All
right,
that.
stay away. It was.
Some people say the connection is golf.
Yeah.
But the connection could have been, I like this guy. He's a pretty good guy. He bangs them, baby.
Oh, I think I know what you're saying.
He's squeezing them on the cush, my kind of guy.
I've had many discussions about Tiger Woods going to the White House with various.
And I love Tiger now. Don't get it wrong.
Okay, I knew you were going to go there
the day he won.
Yeah. Okay. But has your love for Tiger diminished by the fact that he allowed himself to be used as a pawn by Donald Trump? Did that diminish your love for him, or do you subscribe to the notion?
I'm telling you, politically, and when it comes to stuff like that, I've learned to just be a prostitute. I don't care who I screw today, as long as they pay me, and they can do whatever the heck they want. I mean, I don't care.
Okay.
I said it in that way to try to be a little humorous, but I really don't care about what other people do no more. I don't.
All right.
I've truly learned, and I had to learn the hard way, because I used to care about everything. When I was elected, man, I cared. Little mother come in my office crying, and I want you to get my son out of jail. And I cry with her, and I care, and I say, okay, I'm gonna call the Department of Correction to get your son out of jail. What is he in there for? Oh, he just had a little drugs. I say, okay, how much drugs? And she said like 8 kilos, and I'm like, stop playing. So I had to stop caring. I'm like, lady, I can't. You know what I mean? I'm just keeping it real. So I don't care what Tiger does wrong or right, or if he kissed. I mean, they had the team the other day went to the White House.
Boston
the black
Red
guy,
Sox.
the Red Sox. I love the Red Sox.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm a White Sox. I'm in Chicago, but I've always loved the Red Sox because they're like gritty and tough. And I still love Pete Rose. He was Red Sox, right?
No, he was a Cincinnati Red.
Oh, he was a Cincinnati Red.
Yeah.
Well, he should be in the Hall of Fame.
He should definitely be in the Hall of Fame.
Frick everything else. You know what I mean?
Peter Everett Rose.
All of that crap about he gambled on the game. A lot of them gambled on the game. Or this one, Barry Bonds used the steroids. Everybody used steroids for a long, long time. So I don't like the hypocrisy. So I done got to where I don't care. Tiger, you went there, bam. The black guys didn't go to the White House. The white guys did. I'm not mad at the white guys who went or the black guys who stayed home.
All right, now one of your another favorite theme that you have on your show, at least you had when I was listening to it, and I was a big fan of Ricky Hendon's show. Still am. I just don't listen to it, but I'll get over it, Ricky. It'll take a little while. I'll get over it, right?
We're friends forever.
Yeah, but one of the themes you had was it's time for new blood for the Democratic Party.
Oh my God!
But before we go into the national level, a lot of young people got involved. Millennials got involved in politics for the first time running for office in this round. Some of them were victorious. We have a new batch of aldermen. So
White.
there is some new blood.
White. Let's talk real white.
Yeah.
The white people took care of business. The black people really elected the same old motherfuckers. That's the bottom line. And let's keep it real.
Yeah.
The north side, I love the changes on the north side. You know, I just couldn't stand Joe Moore. I must have peed in my pants when I saw those results that he'd lost, man. God's so happy. You know that happy laugh. Oh, you pee a little. I'm telling you, it happened.
All right, Maria Haddon defeated Joe Moore in the 49th Ward. Maria Haddon.
I just did it again.
Yeah. Okay. A little more information. All right. Now to explain.
You said
coffee.
It was a podcast.
You know, you
really
can say whatever you want. All right. So why? I know why, but you explain to our listeners. What's your Joe Moore been a 49th Ward alderman in Rogers Park since 1991? I want to say forever. In fact, I believe he was a colleague of yours. I believe you were still in the city council.
Absolutely, I was.
From the 27th
I served with the real
Ward.
Joe Moore. I did not serve with the Joe Moore he became.
In other words, what do you mean by
He
that?
changed. He became a machine hack. Mm-hmm. He became a Rahm Emanuel 99%er.
Yeah.
You know, vote with the mayor 99% of the time. Red light camera ticket. I just got a letter. I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but I'm into it now.
Go.
From the city of Chicago, some law firm that represents the city, saying in 2005, I got a red light ticket violation. I got to get them $218, and it's too late for me to fight it. I'm like, 2005? 15 years ago,
Yeah.
You guys are going to contact me and tell me I got a red... Now the red light ticket program has been turned out to be fraudulent, a fraud, corrupt. The city had to give people back millions and millions of dollars, but yet...
They're still coming after you.
Still trying to come after me from something in 2005. How can I fight that bid? I don't remember what I did night before last.
It's a shakedown. I'll tell you why. It's a total shakedown because if I understand the program correctly, Ricky, if you get pulled over for whatever reason and the police officer looks into the computer and sees that ticket is on, they can impound your car. They can impound your freaking car.
So I'm forced to pay.
It's extortion.
It's extortion. And I said it when I was a senator. I hated the program. They couldn't pass it till I left. It's a true story. President Cullerton just wouldn't even call the bill while I was there because I had Republican votes. I had Democratic votes. They couldn't pass it. The day I left, they passed the red light camera expansion. And it's been proven to be corrupt. It was the people who were involved in it initially. Some went to jail. Some should have went to jail. Some trips to Costa Rica, kickbacks, payments, to get the contract. The lights would blink, blink, blink just like that. They gave you no time. The federal standard was about 7 seconds. You get the yellow.
Yeah.
Then you go to red. We go yellow, red. Yellow, red, red. And they go blink, 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 blink.
Yeah.
They had the ones in front of the schools that said you got to drive 20 miles an hour when school is open. It's Sunday.
Yeah.
And they're going blink, 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 blink. Straight stick up. I got a letter saying I owe a ticket from 2005. And in that same letter, they said I owed a ticket from 2011 parking somewhere that I don't remember.
Yeah.
Right? In a Chrysler. And I didn't own a Chrysler.
Yeah.
But it's too late for me to appeal that one, too.
Isn't that real? They got you coming and going. It was extortion, and it's a shakedown. And this gets back I'm going to lead back to what you just said. This policy has hit hardest at poor black people.
Right.
Okay? Now, and everything that the city has done, I would say, has hit hardest at poor, but the most regressive policies of the last 4 years under the Mayor Rahm administration, with our TIF program, our property tax situation, and yet the most loyal voters, time and time and time, black voters in the West and South Side wards for aldermen who supported these programs, they reelected Mayor Rahm.
All the black aldermen won.
Yeah. What's that about, Ricky?
Listen, one thing, the millennials, we mentioned them earlier. They had this, we're taking over. And many of them I tried to help, Ben. Many of them. And I told them, you're going to get your butt whooped. Oh, Laquan McDonald. Okay. That ain't gonna get you no votes. And there are ways to win. There's things you have to do. You're knocking on the doors and convincing people and making sure they get to the polls, and so much science involved in it. And the millennials just thought they could rah for the most part, and they were going to make it over the top. All of them lost, Ben. All of them lost.
In the black community.
In the black community.
Yes, you're right.
Now, in the Latino community, there were some upsets. And then, First Ward, 26th Ward.
First Ward, yeah, but that's really
Joe Marino.
Joe Marino, your good friend Proco Joe lost.
Right.
But that's kind of a white ward now.
Right. But in some of the Latino wards, the machine candidates didn't win. I mean, there were... Remember, you had
25th Ward. 25th Ward. Your boy Danny Solis stepped down.
But the north side had big change.
Yes, they did.
So what does that say? I mean, I keep it real. I'm so mad at black people. What does it say? It says Ricky Henry is mad at black people. As black as I am, I'm pissed with my people.
Yeah.
Because we did something very ignorant. I'm not saying black people are ignorant, but we did something stupid. What did we do? We re-elected the same people that voted for the red light cameras. Do you know most of the red light cameras were in the black community? Mm-hmm. Now, I was alderman. They wouldn't have had none in 27th Ward if I was alderman. Because I went to the mayor and said, man, hell no. No. And if he'd have said, well, I'm going to do it anyway, I would have said, I'm going to make a speech on the Senate Council floor every freaking day for the next 3 years. And I would have done it for my constituents because the alderman had the final say. So why are you re-electing these same people? Why are you re-electing these same people who letting them raise your property taxes till you got to move and close the schools in your neighborhood? Why do you re-elect the same people and expect a different result? Yeah. It's called insanity. Yeah. When you do the same thing and over and over again. So I'm very proud of the North Side. And that North Side also swept Lori Lightfoot into the mayor's seat. Mm-hmm. She won big up there, and she won every ward, including all the black wards in the runoff against Preckwinkle.
Yeah, she won every single ward. And at one point, I think Chance the Rapper had it at the same rally where Bobby Rush said, Chance the Rapper says the South and West Sides have Tony Preckwinkle. It was really an attempt to rally the South and West Sides around the Tony Preckwinkle campaign. And obviously that didn't work because Lori Lightfoot.
People don't listen to those celebrities anymore. I mean, they just don't. Do you know nationally, most candidates who are endorsed by big celebrities lost? On both parties, Republican and Democrats. It's something about the American people now. And then the other reason I'm mad at black folks, just to clear it up, is in that runoff between Preckwinkle and Lori Lightfoot, 15% black turnout. So they're voting not to vote.
Yeah.
They're voting. When you get 85% of the people stay home with two black female candidates on the ballot, that's saying that the people are sick and tired of politics and politicians and lying and corruption and crookedness.
Yeah.
So hopefully this new mayor will give us a breath of fresh air.
All right, we hope that's the case. All right, talk about what you were doing in Springfield, recreational cannabis. I call it reefer, but that's my generation.
Reefer? I haven't heard that.
That's what we call it, Ricky.
It's not going to give me a shot of corn.
Yeah. Reefer.
Reefer. Why do we call it reefer?
You know, that's a good Reefer Madness. I inherited that from. They showed us a movie when we were in Reefer Madness. Like the guy smokes the joint and he jumps out the window. And you know, that's the thing. That's the thing about
oh my God.
The utter ridiculousness of the war against drugs, because the kids watching Reefer Madness, about, I would say, half the class was already smoking reefer.
Right.
So they tell you something that's so blatantly not true. All you do is laugh at it.
Right. You know, like, and the other half of the class was like, hey, maybe I should try it.
No, the guys are going, it's even better to watch this movie when you're stoned. And, but anyway, reefer.
So we're down in Springfield, the Cannabis Equity Coalition, which was mostly young people. My son's age, Rick, was down there with us as well. You know, he's a little
Ricky
advocate and wants to be in politics, and I'm trying to tell him no. Mm-hmm. Long as I'm alive, he got to stay out. That's the way it is.
Well, he wants to go in.
Oh, I mean, because he cares. You know, he cares. I'm trying to teach him, care, but don't care too much.
And does he want to run for office?
Yes, he does. And
he has your name.
For the first time in his life, because he used to just totally hate it, but he cares so much.
Yeah.
I mean, he's at all the protests. He's at all the... Anyway, so we go down with the group, and we had a press conference in front of the governor's office, and we picked the bill apart. Most of them liked the bill, praised the governor, because it's a good bill. It looks out for minorities and women, Latinos, a $20 million loan fund that we were asking for. I championed that very, very hard. It was $35 million when I asked for it. The young advocates got on me one night. Well, why can't it be $45 million? No other state has given us anything. So they came down there and they screamed for $45 million. Let them know. Look, I'm happy with the $20 million.
Yeah.
Because it's not based on your credit. It's not based on a lot of the main criteria you might get at a bank. JB did a good job, and the Black Caucus, I thank them. They did a really good job on this bill. Heather Staines and Kelly Cassidy, Senator Staines and Representative, they did a great job and listened to our ideas that came out of the Cannabis Equity Coalition. And then so we lobbied. And we talked to legislators. Most of them said they were for it. Went to the speaker's office, because that's the same day that Mike had said, it might not pass. And I'm mad.
What was that all about?
It's Mike being Mike. Yeah, I like Mike Madigan. So let's be real clear.
Yeah.
I like Mike Madigan. He shows you what a power guy, how he's supposed to play his hand.
Yeah. So what hand was he playing when he did that? I have my theory.
He was playing it. Talk to me. You gotta talk to me. Kiss. You haven't come and kiss the ring or the booty. Right. So start smacking just a little bit. Pump your brakes, shawty. That's the way we say it in the hood. Pump your brakes, shawty. You know?
You're absolutely right. That's exactly what he did.
I always tell them, people need it just raw and the real, the way it is, from a politician or a former politician. And that's what I'm gonna do. And I told him, listen, we still say nice things about Mike. Don't beat him up or jump him, because then now he gets, the old granddad, can't take it. Oh, really? We don't need that either.
Yeah.
So it smoothed it over, and I talked to a couple of the other reps who want this. They want to tweak it a little bit.
Yeah.
And nothing is wrong with tweaking the bill. And as I told the young group, the downstaters now want a piece. They're like, what the heck? We got all this farmland.
Oh, yeah.
Let us grow it.
Oh,
and I'm all for that. Let them grow it.
Ricky, this is one of my pet peeves. Dennis knows where I'm going. I say this all the time. This notion that people downstate have an opposition to legalized marijuana, cannabis, whatever you guys call it these days, is utterly absurd.
Right.
I'll take you to any downstate town right now on a Friday night. Someone is smoking reefer.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of, and drinking corn whiskey. And guess what? Yeah. All they want, and I told, we had a T-shirt made, right? So I was in charge of the party. We had a big party afterwards. It was off the chain. Some of those young activists, they were Puerto Ricans and whites, and they never partied like with black folk down in the hood like that in Springfield.
Party like a rock star.
Oh, we got it in, bro. You feel me?
Yeah.
And I was like, we had extra T-shirts. I was giving it to the downstaters.
Wait, what are the T-shirts, and why don't I have one? What does it say?
Cannabis Equity, Illinois, and our sponsors on the back. And, if we don't smoke, if we can't eat, nobody can smoke. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's pretty good line.
Let us all, you know what I mean? And I told them, why can't the farmers downstate? Absolutely. If we support them, then they will support us. They're not against it. They want to make money as well. Mm-hmm. So why not? Let them grow. So they flex their muscle too, and they have a right to be able to grow it. Illinois is very long. We're a long state. We go all the way down to Mississippi down there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of farmland. So let them grow the hemp and the cannabis, and then we can buy it from Illinois and help the Illinois economy.
So you think this is going to pass?
I know it's going to pass.
And Mike Madigan, there's no veto coming, so you don't have to override a veto.
Yeah, JB, I have the bill with me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good things in it. JB clearly is going. This is his summary, by the way.
I know, yeah.
The adult use cannabis summary from the governor's office. So he's clearly not going to veto it.
Just think about the difference between this life under Pritzker as opposed to life under Rauner. Instinctively, I thought, well, do they have enough votes to override the veto? And I'm like, wait a minute. It's the Pritzker's bill. There is no veto.
Right. And it's going to be that way on a lot of things this round. We're going to see what kind of governor J.B. Pritzker is really going to be. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. This bill surprised a lot of people. I was at all the meetings, and people were like, he'll never put money in there for a grant fund. I'll say, yeah. I was down there 18 years. Come on, I know something. You know what I mean? He'll never agree to give minorities expedited licenses. Minorities get our licenses quicker under this bill. That's how you level the playing field. It's not against white folk. You can get yours too, Ben.
Yeah.
Just let me get mine quicker.
No, they absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Listen.
And it's in the bill. So
Black
it's
people
a great bill.
paid the biggest. This is really, how do I put this, Ricky? This is really the first step toward acknowledging that the quote-unquote war on drugs was a colossal failure. And Ricky Hendon, you know this more than I do. Who paid the biggest price for that stupid war on drugs?
Yeah,
Black people.
Absolutely. But it's acknowledged in the bill. The socially challenged communities is in the bill. So there's such a thing. It's called a social equity applicant. So if you came from the West Side or the South Side or East St. Louis, or you know what I mean, and they seeing the people who they're letting out of jail, because they're gonna let people out of jail for marijuana too. People who are in jail right now for cannabis charges, unless they had like 2 tons or a couple of, and they're the big guys, they won't be let out. Or if they were in there for marijuana and they kidnapped somebody,
Yeah, that's extenuating.
they ain't letting them out.
Yeah.
But you got a lot of people in there for a gram. Couple of joints even.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
You know what I mean? They're going to let those people out, expunge their records, Ben. So it's not on their record. Automatic expungement. So the people don't even have to file for it.
Well, if you're going to expunge Jesse Smollett's record, you should expunge the guy with the reefer.
Don't even take me there. and so
I haven't even heard you on this subject.
Well, I think I think that the Smollett people did Kim Foxx great damage unnecessarily. I cannot agree with any account that he did not pull that bullshit, because they did. Him and them little big old African dudes, they wasn't even looking like white. At least get some light-skinned brothers and say that they was some white, some white guys. They got 2 jet black. Come on, man. They darker than me. I would, if I'd have done it, Ben, I would have got at least a couple of little light-skinned brothers. Under the
Why do you gotta get a white guy? There's white actors in Chicago.
Well, that might have been a little too risky.
Okay.
But at least get a light-skinned brother, with the dark light, it was at night. Maybe you got a chance, but you got 2 big old buff black dudes talking about.
No, the whole thing was ridiculous, Ricky. But
my God.
Listen, I could talk on and on about this. Why Kim Foxx took the call? Now, you've been around politics for a long time. Why did you? And then make the call to Eddie Johnson.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this in Kim's defense. I love her, and this is about more than just Smollett. The police, what they're doing against her. And if you don't believe that, just look at the press conference and you see
absolutely
all white captains, all white chiefs, no blacks. No Latinos even.
Yeah.
So the black and brown community see it a little different.
No, listen.
They see it like this. Let me tell you how they see it. She made a mistake.
Okay.
She may not acknowledge it ever, but it happens. And a lot of black folks see white kids walk all the time for stuff. So they're like, okay, here's one black actor who screwed up, because it was they weren't even good
Ricky,
criminals, man. It was ridiculous.
This is my attitude about that. I want to know where these police chiefs were back in 2008 or whatever it was, when Daley's nephew punched David Kochman, knocked him out, and there was no investigation of the state's attorney. Where were all the police chiefs then? You know what I'm saying?
And
so that's the double standard here is just on. If you've been around Chicago long enough, you understand.
And that's why I've defended Kim, but I didn't defend the action.
Yeah.
I didn't defend what her office did, and I certainly didn't defend Smollett. And I'm in theater. I would love to maybe be on a show with him one day,
in
or
Empire.
have the young man in a film that I'm doing, or whatever. But he also did damage to the LGBTQ community, because now people are going to say, if something does happen, you're Smolletting us. There's a word they got out there now.
Yeah.
You're Smolletting.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
And he gave ammunition to Trump.
And he gave ammunition to Trump.
Yeah.
Trump was able to say, see?
Yeah.
See? So that's why I'm like, you hurt the black, and he's black. So guess who else he hurt? The African American community. When you say the police did this to me or did that, no. How do we know? You could be, It was bad all the way.
It's bad
around.
all the way around. It's being used as a political football.
Right.
But you're absolutely correct.
And it's going to be used all the way to 2020.
Yeah.
It ain't going away.
It'll be. Now, the other thing you're doing in Springfield was having to do with gambling, sports betting?
I wasn't on that bill, but it was the other thing that they were talking about, and that's like sports betting, online betting, something that I indulge in. And so I have plenty positions on it, even though I wasn't supporting the bill or against the bill. I'm supportive of it because people are going to do it anyway. And if you don't do it, you don't pay. So if you're going to do it, tax it. Let the gamblers pay a little tax or whatever. But they can't keep letting one guy bet, rich guy, 1,000 times in one little tournament, and people like us bet twice or once.
He has the odds.
He's got 1,000 to 1 going to beat us. So he'll risk $10,000. Make it fair. One entry per contest.
Here's the interesting
That's
thing.
Me.
Here's the interesting thing. I'm very much a proponent of legalizing marijuana for many, many reasons. All right. And mainly because I don't smoke the stuff. Now, gambling, I have issues with, Ricky Hendon. I am a reformed gambler. I do not gamble because once I start, I can't stop. I get caught up in it. I will not do it. So one of my friends and did everybody, hey, Ben, kick in, the over-under in the second half of the Warriors-Rockets game. I'm not going there because I know it's a slippery slope. But it's interesting. Every day with the bills for reefer, there's this lobby of people. Well, marijuana is bad for the kids' brains, and what about the people driving the car? There's all these reasons they give for not legalizing marijuana. Like we're just going to give the stuff away to 8-year-olds.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? And yet we don't see that with the betting thing. And I know betting is a destructive thing, Ricky.
Yeah.
It's
well,
destructive.
let me say two things on that. One, the anti-marijuana legalization recreationals that I've heard, many of them don't tell you where they're really from. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes big tobacco, you might find. Now you find the big pharmaceutical companies buying up all the marijuana stock they can get their hands on, buying up all the hemp and the CBD oil stock they can get. Because they know people are using it as a medicine rather than their traditional chemical medicines there was a big purchase the other day, $850 million about a month ago. Cresco bought a marijuana company. So the pharmaceutical companies are now buying the marijuana companies, the cannabis company. Now on the gambling, you hear there is a group that is anti. This bill is pretty much anti-everything gambling, period. And it can be addictive, and it can be very destructive. However, I think government does need money. We can't get past that. Infrastructure, the bridges in Chicago. I saw something on TV the other day I'm like, oh my God. They're like, I don't like predict stuff or whatever, but they were pretty much saying, if we don't fix these bridges soon, something, bad gonna happen. And when you got to be realistic, the police got to be paid. You need a fire department. The
pensions have to be paid.
So how do you get the money? I'm against, even right now, and I love JB right now, but I could be for the progressive income tax, but I'm pretty much against every tax that pop up. I think that hurt Preckwinkle. The sugar tax. People were still pissed.
Oh my goodness. We talked about that so much. Yeah.
Taxes. So you got to come up with other ways. So if it's gaming, if it's cannabis or reefer, as you say it, reefer. Oh man, I would think I'm going to
reefer madness.
At least the people who don't indulge didn't pay a nickel. At least you're not losing your house.
It's a vice tax.
Taxes. It's a vice.
It's a vice tax. Right. All right, it's a vice tax. All right, now we're running out of time here, but I'm going to close briefly with your rundown of the presidential race. We're going to bring you back on a regular basis now that we've broken the ice again.
And it's cool with CPT. They're like, go ahead. Say hello to hi.
Yeah. They know enough.
Bernie Sanders, hell no, too old.
Okay.
People don't want. The younger generation is going to rebel against. They're just tired of older people telling them what to do. And he had his chance. the people should learn from what they seeing out here in the dynamic of politics. They want change. Bernie is not change. He's same old Bernie. Joe Biden. Joe, forget about it. Uncle Joe, Granddaddy Joe. I love Joe Biden, but at some point, y'all, step aside.
Yeah.
Let some of these younger minds, more alert. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give them a chance. Now, I'm not saying these millennials, because they clearly don't know what they're doing yet.
Yeah.
But they got to be trained. But a 40-year-old, 50-year-old, to some young people, we're old.
Yeah.
50. I'm 60-something. Now I still go from first to third on the base hit.
Yeah.
Holla. Yeah, we Jets beat the champions last Sunday, 9-2. And I got a hit in every game I've started as a pitcher. Hello. But I put that aloe vera and stuff on my back and that hemp oil later after the game. Yeah, I sit in that green alcohol and Epsom for 4 hours after the game. But so do some of the pros.
Are you still pitching?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I'm 2-1. I should be 3-0. The game we lost,
Yeah.
we was winning 9-1, Ben.
Yeah, well, team fell apart. Okay, a lot of the game is psychological, right? You guys just fell apart.
Right. But I think we need, and I don't have a dog in the fight, as they would say. None of them have convinced me. A couple of them, I think, are just doing something. Mm-hmm. The mayor of Hoboken, Iowa / Indiana.
Your guy, Mayor Pete from South Bend?
Oh, everybody's going to get a free income for the rest of your life, guaranteed. Forget that.
Yeah.
Ain't finna happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It might sound okay for now. That same person would get in there, and I just got to say, I heard one of Lori Lightfoot's people say the other day when they asked them about the taking over the mayor, the first thing they said is something I said that I knew they were going to say a couple years ago. Same thing Willie Wilson would have said if we'd got in there and it was me. We got here and it was much worse than we thought.
Yeah, you knew that was coming. Always say that.
Much worse than they always say that.
Always.
And guess what? That's a precursor to raising your taxes.
Absolutely. Oh, they do that across the board.
Much worse.
Yeah.
Rahm Emanuel had monies that's missing and yada yada yada.
You know what? Here's how Rahm's slick. He's running around putting the counter narrative. He's running around saying, I left this city better than I inherited. The murder rate's down. Kids are better. And, people tell me they believe this stuff.
People believe it, Ben.
Yeah.
People believe it. Just like people believe Donald Trump, that it was fake news and there was no collusion.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You colluded, colluded. You did every goddamn collude in the world. Everybody should go to jail after he leaves office. You can't send a sitting president, and they should impeach him.
I'm actually not quite sure you can't. They say they can't. Impeach, yes or no?
I say they should go forward because it's all the evidence is there. Politically, if I was on the inside, we'd be having this conversation and say it's going to hurt us politically, so don't do it. Just keep pounding away.
Yeah. That's what Nancy Pelosi. By the way, Nancy Pelosi is pretty shrewd.
Oh, yeah. She knows. I would rather run against Donald Trump if I was one of these nominees than anybody. I don't care what you say. People are sick of him. They're tired of him. Let him out. Go circulate petitions for his ass. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Let him make the ballot.
Yeah.
If you impeach him, he can't make the ballot.
First of all,
he's a blocker. Let me say that. He blocks any other Republican who might win.
You're not going to impeach. You're not going to drive him out of office. There's no way you're going to get the Republican votes in the Senate to oust him. So you just have the investigation, bloody him up a little bit. And,
yes, his and in the mafia, you can't kill the Don, so you kill his consigliere.
That's actually not a bad mobster imitation. Did not know you had that mobster imitation.
On West Side. What can I do?
One day,
I better have one. I'm coming home one night. Hey, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Ricky Hendon, former state senator, former alderman.
Fun.
It's a blast, isn't it?
Oh, man.
We used to do this all the time, and the only time I ever got mad at him, when I used to do the Ben Joravsky Theater, he knows where I'm going with it. I have a script. Read the script, Ricky. He's an actor. The guy starts rewriting the script. Improv. Meanwhile, the other actors are waiting for their beats. Where's he going?
I know how to steal a show.
Four other actors are, where are you going, Ricky, with this? Oh, my God. Anyway, Ricky Hendon, it's a blast. We'll get you back once a month. Talk politics with Ricky Hendon, former alderman, former state senator, talk show host on the name of that station that fired me. What's it called? WC We Fired Ben? Is that what it's called? No, it's got another name. What is that name?
WCPT.
Oh, there we go. WCPT. All right, Ricky Hendon, thank you so much.
All right, my friend.
We'll see you guys on Tuesday.
Tuesday!
All right, everybody. We're live. Oh, Ben, you good? You want me
No,
to turn the
I'm
music
good.
back up?
I'm good. I was just going to say something to Kevin, but let's just move on.
Are you sure? I can turn it back up? No? All right.
No, we're good. Come
All
on.
right, everybody.
Come on.
We are live. We're now live. Ben was at a City of Chicago panel discussion. How'd that go?
Oh, man, I'll be talking all about it in about a minute or so.
Go check out the picture on Twitter. Ben was wearing a blazer, guys.
Yeah, that was
Whoa.
looking good, man.
Whoa. All right, we're about to get into our Ben Joravsky Show for your Wednesday, May 22nd. A little late, but that's fine. Ben, we had to rub elbows and meet some important people in media, so it was worth it here. So we're going to start the show here in moments, but before we get into that, we would like to thank the following unions for bringing back the Ben Joravsky Show. First up, the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, Local 126 in District 8, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9, and the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. Thank you once again to those unions for jumping on board and bringing back the Ben Joravsky Show. And, of course, today's program is brought to you by our friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. The Ben Joravsky Show starts now. It is Wednesday, May 22nd, and live from the Chicago Sun-Times Chicago Reader Studio on Racine Avenue, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. Today on the program, we're talking Trump, and more Trump with legendary Chicago journalist Monroe Anderson, and we welcome reporter Ray Hanania. And now your host, Chicago Reader columnist and owner of a blazer, Ben Joravsky.
Hello, everybody. Ben Joravsky here. We're calling. Where were you Wednesday? And here's why. Yeah, I wasn't here at 1 o'clock. You know, I've been doing this podcast. Now, how long have we been doing this podcast, Dave?
Since February 27th.
Since February 27th. So my clock is set to 1 p.m. where I got to come on the air live, do the live stream, and I'm focused and fixated on that. Everything I do from when I go to bed to when I wake up is all centered on that, although I never go to bed. Last night I was still up at 4:30. Long story. Don't want to get into my personal problems.
Please don't.
But I had to roll out and get downtown to go to the City Club. Now, the City Club is a very upstanding, they've been around a long time, organization of corporate movers and shakers, in the city of Chicago, probably more of the conservative persuasion than me. I was really shocked when they invited me. My first instinct was to say no, because I didn't want to miss the show. But I'm going to tell you something, folks, who really calls the shots in my life. All right? The man they call the doctor. He said, hey, you're going to that show.
That's exactly how I said it.
We need the publicity. Now get over there. I'm like, come on, man. I got to have to get up early. Nope, you're going to do it. So then I get up. I'm all set to go out of the house. My wife says, hey, you're not going to that meeting of the movers and shakers with that Michael Jeffrey Jordan T-shirt on, are you? Well, kinda. Yeah. No, get over there. She made me change my shirt. She made me change my pants. She made me put on this beautiful blazer. Can we show the people the blazer?
Yeah, show those
That
live streamers.
is a nice blazer.
Look at that blazer, guys. I wasn't in the shot. Whatever. It's nice, all right?
It wasn't in the shot.
No,
Hold
it's
on.
not in the
Hold
shot.
on.
Okay. Here we go. Oh, there we go. See that, live streamers?
That's called a blazer, people, as in
Whoa.
jacket, not in a car. Some people might be confused.
Okay.
All right, how about my listeners?
No one was confused on that one.
I'll just put it right here for the moment.
There we
Everybody
go.
can see
Boom.
it.
Then went into the Republicans' den.
Yes, I was in there. A lot of Republicans, but more to the point, a lot of ROM types in there. Okay, so then they start asking me questions. I had to think. Should I kind of like duck and dodge and say nice things about the mayor? So I was all set to do that, everybody. I was like, as Rom heads off into the pasture, I am very grateful. But I couldn't do it, anybody. I couldn't. I was like, I'm so relieved he's gone. We were supposed to be talking about the 100 days of Lori, and I was still talking about the last 8 years of Rom. So anyway, they were very nice to me, even though I don't think anybody in the room agreed with anything I had to say. My old friend Laura Washington was there. Laura and I started back in the business many, many years ago. There were still dinosaurs in the streets of Chicago, and we started writing together back for the Chicago Reporter back in the early 80s. Jen Sabella was there, the legendary Jen Sabella of the millennial persuasion. She was sort of like the youth aspect of it. So it's like Mod Squad. Monroe is the only guy who knows what Mod Squad is.
Right, exactly.
There was a Mod Squad, there was the hippie, there was the blonde and the black guy.
Yeah, right, and the blonde died last week.
Yes, she did. Very good for knowing that.
Hang tight, millennials. Got a great show for you
For
today.
10 trivia points, Monroe, what was the blonde's name? Go.
Let's see. Her brother does
Okay,
studio.
no,
studio.
time out. That's no. You
Yeah.
can't answer the question what her name is by talking about her brother.
Yeah, no, he does the actor's studio show.
Peggy Lipton. I didn't know that was her brother.
That's her brother.
I learned something from them.
right.
Let me check here. Oh, yeah, all the millennials stopped listening.
Anyway,
Awesome.
it was like an updated version of Mod
This is
Squad.
a history class, guys.
So I wore my nice blazer, and they gave me, look at this, man. They gave me this cup. All right,
Oh, show the live streamers that cup.
They gave the lefty guy the cup. I had a little name plate thing, and they spelled my name right. Life was good, and then they gave me. I'm a member of the City Club.
Whoa.
Oh, they gave you a membership?
Dude, I'm glad I forced you to go to that. Cut that in half. I want half of it.
Whenever I go to a City Club meeting, they just break in. Where everybody knows my name.
No singing.
Anyway, the City Club members are like, who invited this guy? He's too lefty. Get him out of here. But they were all very nice to me, and I managed to get out there without getting in an argument. So thank you, City Club, for inviting me. Thank you, Dennis, for making me go to the City Club. Thank you, my lovely wife, for making me wear the blazer and not the Michael Jeffrey Jordan T-shirt, although it's one of my favorite T-shirts. I will say this. The theme of the day was the first 100 days of Lori Lightfoot, what we can expect, and that's the theme of today's show. Got Monroe Anderson. Well, it's a Monroe Wednesday anyway. We'll be talking Trump, and more Trump, but Monroe's old friend Ray Hanania. This is going to be a treat, ladies and gentlemen. Ray Hanania will be coming to the studio. Ray, legendary Chicago Sun-Times reporter back in the day,
Right.
going back to the 80s
Right.
and the 90s.
We were at City Hall together.
You were
at City
as
Hall
reporters, and then as
reporters.
when you was he? Yeah, he was there when you were the
And he
press
was
aide.
there I was the press secretary.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about first 100 days for Mayor Byrne, first 100 days for Harold Washington, first 100 days for Gene Sawyer, first 100 days for Richie Daley, first 100 days for Rahm. We can't do first 100 days for David Orr because he was only in there for like 3 days. So,
5 days.
look, man, you know your trivia. God dang, Monroe. He's the pride and
Let me tell you, we were talking about. I was talking with Sawyer. Sawyer wanted to put a picture up of him with the other mayors.
David
The
Orr.
other mayor.
Yeah.
And I said, well, he's only there for 5 days. And Sawyer says, well, he was a mayor, so he should go up there.
I agree with
So
Sawyer.
I said, what about a postage stamp?
Oh, that Monroe. No wonder he got in trouble all the time.
Yes, all the time.
But anyway, pretty slick power move by Lori Lightfoot. And this is one of the points I made at the City Club because they were asking, what do you think of her speech? And I got to tell you, folks, I don't know if I accentuated this enough yesterday. That was a pretty slick move in her speech on Monday when she turned and looked at the city council, the aldermen who were all lined up behind her, and she gave him that little Mike Tyson stare of hers, and she was like, you're going to fall in line, and the crowd went crazy, and it was like she just put the Ed Burke's head on the shoulders and necks of anybody who would dare to disagree with her. Very slick, astute move. Not bad for a rookie, of first time mayor, just in office for less than 10 minutes or so.
Right. Her instincts are good.
Her instincts are good. So anyway, we'll be talking local politics. Monroe is here. We'll be talking national politics. And we have a special guest and a circus man from, where's my piece of paper here? There's my piece of paper.
It's under the blazer.
It's under the, Kevin Beverly, the pride and joy of Chicago, will be here talking about Circus du Soleil. I may have butchered that.
Cirque Du Soleil.
Oh, excuse me,
Cirque du
Mr.
Soleil.
I've been everywhere.
Say Francais.
Francais. And it'll be in Chicago from May 18th to July 6th at Soldier Field. You can get your tickets. I'm trying to read this. CircusDuSoleil.com. I'm going to make Kevin spell it. All right. And so he's going to spell it to make sure everybody can get their tickets. So I'll be talking to Kevin about how he got into the circus business as a kid growing up in the city of Chicago. Looking forward to that conversation. But before we do any of that, I'm going to turn things over to the doctor with the news.
Hey, guys, I'm Dennis. Not a doctor. Never been a doctor. It's the middle of the day. Let's talk about the national news happening this afternoon. Democratic House Speaker and, yes, owner of our host, Ben Joravsky's heart, Nancy Pelosi, had an impeachment powwow with the entire Democratic caucus this morning. Remember, our President Donald Trump and his weirdo goon administration have been blocking congressional committees from investigating him for quite a while now. Pelosi spoke to reporters following a meeting of the entire House Democratic caucus this morning. And they got a game plan. Welcome to Operation Code Word Cover Up. Here's Pelosi on Trump and the meeting.
We do believe that it's important to follow the facts. We believe that no one is above the law, including the President of the United States, and we believe that the President of the United States is engaged in a cover-up, and that was the nature of the meeting.
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi is playing a very sophisticated game. We're going to be talking about that with Monroe in a little while. And probably Ray Hanania, we'll get into that conversation with him as well. Two old press hands and reporters have a lot of insight on what the game Nancy Pelosi is playing. But clearly, Nancy Pelosi is trying to take the center point here in the Democratic Party and make it seem as though it's Trump that's forcing her to do something that she doesn't want to do, which is open up this impeachment proceedings. And like, Donald, you got to help me. You got to send us your tax returns. You got to send us your chief aides. You got to bring in Mueller to testify. And every time Donald Trump says not going to do it, Nancy's like, what can I do? So it's a very interesting little waltz that they're dancing here.
He's self-impeaching.
Monroe said 4th of July, he'd be gone. We'll see if he's still sticking to that prediction. So that's the game that Nancy Pelosi is very astutely playing, in my humble opinion.
So we heard the game. Well, of course you think that. You love Nancy Pelosi. All right, it didn't take long for the president to respond. Here's Donald Trump today at a press conference. Cover up. Ah, come on. What are you talking about, says the president.
I just saw that Nancy Pelosi, just before our meeting, made a statement that we believe that the president of the United States is engaged in a cover-up. Well, it turns out I'm the most, and I think most of you would agree to this, I'm the most transparent president probably in the history of this country.
Okay.
We have given on a witch hunt, on a hoax. The whole thing with Russia was a hoax as it relates to the Trump administration and myself. It was a total horrible thing that happened to our country. It hurt us in so many ways. Despite that, we're setting records with the economy, with jobs. We have the most people employed today that we've ever had in the history of our country. We have the best unemployment numbers that we've had in the history of our country. In some cases, 51 years, but generally in the history of our country. Companies are moving back in. Things are going well. And I said, let's have the meeting on infrastructure. We'll get that done easily. That's one of the easy ones. And instead of walking in happily into a meeting, I walk in to look at people that had just said that I was doing a cover-up. I don't do cover-ups.
Oh, yeah.
You people know that probably better than anybody.
He doesn't do cover-ups. I don't know. It kind of worked on me.
It's really weird. He doesn't do cover-ups. The guy has the greatest comb-over in the history of American politics. So he's covering something up, ladies and gentlemen. His bald head. But Donald Trump, man, what a performer he is. We had Sergio Vicente on yesterday. He's a mixed martial arts expert, and he was talking about the rhetoric that wrestlers and fighters employ when they're trash talking and try to promote a fight. Donald Trump, folks, whenever you listen to Donald Trump, you should think of a wrestler, a pro wrestler, a fighter before a fight. It's all trash talking. It's all promoting his brand, and that brand is Donald Trump. You can't take anything he says literally if you want the truth. The notion that Donald John Trump is the most transparent president we have ever had is such a joke. This is a man who's been covering everything up, including what he was up to with the Russians when the Russians hacked into the Democratic computers. Never forget that, everybody. Democrats out there, somebody hacked into those computers. Somebody disseminated those private emails to foster a fight between Bernie Sanders supporters and Hillary Clinton supporters, a fight that consumed the Democratic Party. Monroe Anderson, from roughly June of 2016, right? In fact, you could say it's still consuming the Democratic Party. So it was a slick political move by Donald John Trump with his friends from Russia. But don't pretend, Donald Trump, if you want to call yourself the most transparent president ever, that it didn't go on.
Now, of course, we will keep you posted on these stories as today's program rolls along. We got Monroe Anderson sitting right here. I'm just looking at him right now. He's ready to
he's ready to
Trump.
pounce.
Oh, my goodness. We're going to be talking with Monroe Anderson a little later. Stick around. It's the Ben Joravsky Show right here from the Chicago Sun-Times. Read the Chicago Reader to get up to speed on what's what in Chicago. Culture, food, arts and entertainment, weekly concert listings, weekly event listings, the environment, travel. I can continue, but you get the point. And for all of you Chicago political junkies, raw weekly columns on real city politics from Maya Dukmasova and our very own Ben Joravsky. The Chicago Reader, free to the public in newsstands throughout the city and online at chicagoreader.com. Read it now and be a more informed Chicagoan. Today's Ben Joravsky Show was brought to you in part by Chicago Architecture Center. Discover the breadth and majesty of Chicago's architecture on a Chicago Architecture Center bus tour. From bungalows to Bauhaus, our expert docents will share the fascinating stories behind our city's architecture. Book your tour at architecture.org/tours. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm actually on a bus tour right now. Oh my, look at that wonderful piece of architecture. Commercial break over. Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show.
Yes, indeed. We're back. We're live. Monroe Anderson is sitting here. Dr. D is sitting here. Aaliyah is sitting here. We're all getting ready to talk some politics. Before we do that, let's talk a little circus. The Cirque Du Soleil will be in town. Man, listen to this guy. Okay? When I came here, I didn't know the circus was going to be in town. They gave me this piece of paper. I said, how do you write it phonetically? I wrote it phonetically, and then my great moment came. I couldn't read my writing. But I now
don't have to admit that stuff.
What?
You don't have to admit stuff like that, but that's fine. It's very charming of you. I can't read my writing, public.
But anyway, Kevin Beverly, I can read that from the Chicago Academy of Fine Arts a long time ago. He's come a long way from his days as a high schooler. Is a performer in the circus. So Kevin, welcome to the show. And
hello, thank you.
Welcome back to Chicago.
Appreciate it, thank you.
All right, now before you give a little details about the circus and yourself, just give folks the basic details that they need to know if they want to check out a great performance.
Yeah, if you want to come see our show, it's called Volta. It's by Cirque Du Soleil. You can get tickets at cirquedusoleil.com. We are right next to Soldier Field. We have a big white and gray big top. You can't miss it. And we'll be here until July 6th. So come check us out.
So you happen that it's already started May 18th.
Yeah, we started last week. Yeah, we had our big premiere last night.
So excuse my utter and total ignorance here, and I apologize humbly. So in other words, it's in Soldier Field, so it's the full stadium?
We are in the parking lot of Soldier Field.
Oh, the parking lot of Soldier
Field. The south parking lot.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So how many people would show up for that?
I think our tent can fit 2,800, 2,500 people, so.
And for the uninitiated, for people who've never been to this particular circus, what will they see?
Well, Volta is Cirque du Soleil is a contemporary circus company that shows, big circus acts, but also has a little bit of a story narrative to it. It's an artsy form of traditional American circus, I guess you could say. Now, Volta is it's a really high energy, urban acrobatic show that tells a story about a guy who's lost and trying to find himself.
So what role do you play in that?
Me, I'm an acrobat. I do an act called shape diving or hoop diving, where I literally jump through hoops, and they're spinning, they're moving, and the idea is we don't hit it. And it's a very interactive number with the audience. It's super fun. And I'm also the backup for the main character, so a couple of times a week I'll be doing that.
Now, Kevin, how did you learn how to jump through hoops growing up? Well, you grew up in the Chicagoland area.
Yeah, I grew up in Grays Lake, northern suburbs, and I did gymnastics as a kid. And then I switched. I had one of my best friends who switched to dance, and I kind of followed in his lead. And I danced for 10 years competitively in the suburbs. And then when I got to high school, I switched to the Chicago Academy of the Arts up here in the West Loop.
So you were coming all the way from, how did you get, did you take the train?
So I'd take the Metro, and it was amazing for me because I could just sleep an hour and a half more. So I'd get on, my mom would drop me off at the train station. I'd sleep the whole way, get to Union Station, wake up, jump on a bus and go to school.
And start jumping through hoops.
But at that same time, I started taking circus classes at the Actors Gymnasium in Evanston. And so Mondays and Tuesdays, I would drive and go through that horrible traffic every morning just to get to Evanston after school.
Now, when you said competitive dance, what does that mean?
It's competition dance. It's, ages it's really young, 6 years old till high school, so about 17, and you go to different competitions, you compete for trophies. It's very common in the United States. It's actually a very common thing.
Ballroom dancing?
More so jazz, contemporary, tap, hip hop. There's different categories of which you can compete in.
And what's your favorite kind of dancing?
Now, I would much more call myself a circus artist now, but I like contemporary. I like a little jazzy feel to my dance. So.
And so, as a circus artist, what were some of the tricks of the trade that you had to learn to become a circus artist?
Well, switching from dance to circus, I had to really learn a certain kind of apparatus, or a certain, for me, I learned aerials. I did trapeze and I did aerial hoop, and then once I moved to Montreal, Quebec in 2008. And I did this school called the National Circus School, and my major was trapeze, and my minor was hoop diving, which is what I'm doing in the show.
Your major was, so you're the dude on the trapeze?
Yeah, so yeah.
You weren't afraid? The heights didn't bother you?
You get used to it. Now, when I was in circus school, I had no fears, and now as I get older, I'm like, I start recognizing the danger in some of it. And what I do in Volta is hoop diving. We don't go that high. We jump through high hoops, but I know exactly what I'm doing. So.
I can't even picture it. I've never seen this particular circus, so I'm at a loss here. What it mean? How high are you up when you dive through the hoop?
So they start low, and the idea is they get higher and higher and higher. The highest one that I jump through is about 6.5 feet, and I do a back layout through it. So I do a round off before the hoop, and then I jump, do a backflip, get through it, and land back on my feet. But the highest we throw one of our smaller guys through is really, I don't even know how high. I would say 20 feet. Something like that. We throw this little guy through. He jumps through, lands, and that's the end of our act. So you got to come see it, man.
I definitely have to come see it. And it's at Soldier Field. It started May 18th. It's going through July 6th. So in your humble opinion, who is the greatest circus performer of all time, and who is the greatest dancer of all time?
Oh, wow. That is a loaded question. I think that I have some friends in Montreal that I would consider the best, but they're not big names, so I don't think you would know. But my favorite kind of circus artist is people that can do everything. The multidisciplinary, that can touch at aerials, that can do acrobatics, that can act, that can sing, that can wow an audience. I fall in love with people like that. And as far as dancing, I have one of my mentors here in Chicago. Her name is Lizzie McKenzie. And she's a very known dancer here. She's one of my favorite dancers. I love watching her. And she came to see me last night, actually.
What kind of dance does she do?
She worked in Giordano. She worked in Hubbard Street, and now she does her own stuff. So
I thought you were going to say Michael Jackson.
Oh, sorry.
Fred Astaire.
Yeah, Fred Astaire. That's a great. I'm a little young for that, but.
Oh, look at him! I just got to remind the host he's an old guy. I'm young. I don't know who Fred Astaire. Have you seen White Crow?
No.
Has anybody in this room seen White Crow? Does anybody
all the references you guys were going back and forth before, I had no idea. I mean, I thought you were talking about the Breakfast Club earlier, so I don't know.
The White Crow is not in the Breakfast Club. The White Crow is a movie that just came out about a Russian dancer named Nureyev.
Yes.
And he was a ballet. I'm speaking to circus people here, so suddenly I'm explaining dance to circus people, and it's a great movie. I urge everybody in this room to check it out. But he was in the Soviet Union in the 50s and the 60s, and he defected to the West. It's a great story. Anyway,
Nureyev, I do know exactly what you're talking about.
So anyway, there my appeal to get people out to see the White Crow. All right, Kevin Beverly, the pride and joy of the Chicago Academy of Fine Arts. One more time, tell folks everything they need to know about going to see this show.
Yeah, come see us. Our show is called Volta, and we're in a big grand chapiteau, a big top tent in the south side of the south parking lot of Soldier Field, and we'll be here until July 6th, almost every single day except Mondays. Check us out on CirqueDuSoleil.com. You can get tickets.
Could you spell that?
Yeah, it's CirqueDuSoleil.
All right,
Cirque du Soleil, Circus of the Sun.
Yeah, if I go, how will I know you? How will I recognize
you?
you? What will you be doing where anybody who doesn't know you will know you?
So I'm in the second half of the show, the second act. It's a very obvious act. You'll see the hoop diving. I'm the only redheaded guy, so you can't miss it. I'm a tall redheaded. I got lots of energy, and sometimes I'll be wearing a blue wig playing the main character. So you just gotta message me. I'll let you know.
All right.
All right. Very good, Kevin. Thank you so much for stopping by. I urge everybody to check out the show. All right, we'll be right back with more political talk after this.
Cirque du Soleil's Big Top comes back to Chicago with its latest show, Volta. Venture into a captivating voyage of discovery inspired by the adventurous spirit of freedom, where a surge of action sparks a high-voltage journey. Volta. Playing May 18th through July 6th under the Big Top at Soldier Field. Tickets at CirqueDuSoleil.com. Volta thanks their partners Hennessy Black and Champagne Nicolas Fayette.
It's Chicagoland's adult entertainment playground. It's the world-famous Admiral Theater, 3940 West Lawrence Avenue. The Admiral is homegrown from Chicago, and it's the most conveniently located club in all of the city. 15 minutes from the O'Hare Airport in downtown Chicago Loop. Voted Chicago's best strip club, the Admiral has showgirls galore and a variety of adult entertainment shows. The world-famous Admiral Theater, open every day from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m., 3940 West Lawrence Avenue. For events, showtime, and other information, visit AdmiralX.com. Must be 18 years of age or older to enter.
Hey, everybody, what you're about to hear are the piano stylings of Jeff Manuel. Man, listen to Jeff go. Jeff Manuel has been playing piano around Chicago for years. He's played for conventions, for celebrities, played in basement bars with blues bands. He's played at prestigious social clubs, fine restaurants, and in the intimacy of private homes. Book Jeff Manuel at jeffmanuelpianist.com. Don't worry, I'll spell his name at the end of this commercial. You know what Chicago Magazine said? They said that Jeff Manuel is, quote, as comfortable with Chopin as he is with Cole Porter. He's excellent and his performance is joyous. He offers an elegant stream of compositions and interpretations that entertains the mind but won't hurt the ears. To hear more of Jeff Manuel's work and to book Jeff for your next event, go to jeffmanuelpianist.com. I'm going to spell it out for you, people. Jeff. M as in Mary, A, N as in Nancy, UELPIANIST.com. Take it away, Jeff Manuel.
Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show. Ben Joravsky cut a deal with the circus people. He's going to be one of the trapeze guys.
Man, come on. They're going to put me in that cannon and shoot me out.
Live from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Oh, man. The circus has left the building. The circus has left the building.
It sort of hasn't. This show's still on.
Monroe Anderson is still here, and the doctor's about to move on to the local news. What you got for me, young man?
Actually, let's talk with Monroe.
Oh, okay. There's an abrupt transition.
We said we're going to do What Else is News at the end of the show today.
Whoa, that's great planning we had there. Anyway, all right, we're going to talk to Monroe. Are you going to go see the circus?
Maybe.
You're not a huge circus fan?
No.
All right, well, the big...
but the Cirque du Soleil is more of an artistic thing. Mm-hmm. It's not just elephants and clowns and whatever.
Yeah, all right. Well, your French pronunciation is very good. That was pretty funny. They gave me this. How do you pronounce it? I wrote it down. I couldn't read my writing anyway. I was
Actually, it's not. I was in Paris years ago.
Okay.
And I took French in high school and college. But I was in Paris. I always spoke French with a Gary accent.
Okay. Gary.
So I was trying to speak to them to be polite in their language. And the guy says, just speak English.
Gary, Indiana, Monroe, born and raised in Gary, Indiana, the pride and joy of Gary. Some would argue he's the greatest person to come out of Gary. Well, no, I can't say since Michael Jackson, because Michael Jackson came out after you. But Michael's credibility and reputation and legacy is not too well. By the way, I've never asked you about that. Sure. Have you turned on Michael Jackson? You know, have you been following all the stories?
Oh, yeah, no, I know stories. I figured out the stories a long time ago.
So you believe they were true from the get-go?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Even when he was acquitted. Wasn't he acquitted in his trial?
Yeah, right, exactly. Money can buy you anything.
Money can buy you anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are denying.
But this is my theory, though. He was abused as a child by Joe, his father.
How so? What kind of abuse?
Beaten, just physically abused, and who knows what else.
Psychological abuse.
Yeah, psychological abuse. And he never had a childhood.
Yeah, that's for sure.
He never had a childhood. And so he was a warped man. And, they exist.
Yeah. And it was really troubling because I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan. I was very sad when he died, and now I've come face to face with his behavior and the consequences of his behavior. And can I still like a Michael Jackson song? I'm dealing with all these things, Monroe. You know what I'm saying? But all right, let's switch the topic to Donald Trump. When Ray Hanania comes in, we'll do more of a local angle. Ray Hanania on his way, folks, veteran Chicago reporter in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, worked for the Sun-Times and at the Daily Southtown, covered City Hall. So we're going to go talk about great mayors and city council feuds and first 100 days, sort of give a historical perspective to what Lori Lightfoot's encountering. Monroe, of course, covered city politics for many years for the Sun-Times and the Tribune, and then he was press secretary to Monroe Anderson. He was secretary to Eugene Sawyer, so he has a great perspective on all these things. I'm looking forward to that with Ray Hanania when he comes in to do the local stories. But let's talk national. Nancy Pelosi, I already mentioned this, is playing this very interesting game, Monroe. So how would you rate her performance so far? First of all, do you agree with me that that's the political game that she is playing?
Yeah, she is playing a political game. And I've grown so upset with Trump that my attitude is impeach him yesterday. But what she's doing is she's playing it out in a manner so when they do it, people, American voters will be ready for it. I worry about her being too safe on this whole thing. If it were the Republicans trying to get rid of Obama or President Hillary Clinton, their drumbeat would be over.
Yeah.
They would have done this just blatantly and just said, okay, live with it or die with it.
What do you mean by too safe? You're worried that she's too safe.
He is obstructing justice in front of our very eyes. I mean, by not ignoring subpoenas, having his people ignore subpoenas. He's issued a blanket statement. Nobody can go talk to any committee. Any of the 6 House committees that are investigating him. There is a law that says that if the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee asks for somebody's income tax, then you have to do it. It's not up for debate or judicial judgment or anything like that. The word in the law that was passed in the 1920 after the Teapot Dome scandal. Was that you shall. And in law, that means no ifs, ands, buts about it. That's the law. That's what you have to do. They're ignoring that. Mnuchin was on in front of a committee today, the head of the Treasury.
Stephen Mnuchin.
Dancing around trying to give excuses and explanations and what have you. They're breaking the law. This is a lawless president and a lawless administration. And you can't go, well, we're doing everything, all the hand-wringing and what have you. I think they should just do it. But
you think the Dems should just impeach him and have the trial and send it over to the Senate now.
Right.
Right now in the Republican fold, let me see, I saw this article in the paper. You probably saw this. Let me get the exact name. I'll open my newspaper. Read this on the train coming in today. There is actually one Republican.
Amash.
Yeah, okay, you know the name. Very good. I got to give you credit. I'm looking for the exact quote that he gave. One Republican, Amash, he's from Michigan, I want to say. Do I have that right?
I think so.
And who has said point blank, he issued this statement over the weekend. I was so thrilled by it. I was going to talk about it yesterday when it came back from the weekend, but we were just so overwhelmed with Lori Lightfoot inaugural news. For the first time, a Republican has spoken out And to me, when I look at the Republican Party now, there's many reasons to be disgusted with them. But I think at the top of the list is their spinelessness, the way they're just bending backwards just to do whatever Trump tells them to do,
Right.
follow whatever order he tells them to do. Reminds me of the city council under the worst days of Rahm, Daley, and the old man Daley.
Right.
And yet this one man,
who is a libertarian and a teabagger, who just said, but he's very principled. And so he said he read the Mueller report and he needed to be, Trump should be indicted.
Yeah. Impeached,
So,
yeah.
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 Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, this is what I was thinking about. The number of former federal prosecutors that have said they've read the Mueller report and that Trump needs to be indicted is almost at 1,000 now that have read it and said this. And Trump is still telling us no collusion, no obstruction.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, let's go back to this this congressman. What he said was very interesting. I think he tweeted it. I can't remember if he said it or tweeted out. He essentially said that if you read the Mueller report, you can come to no other conclusion than this was obstruction of justice.
Right.
And you have to read the Mueller report.
Right.
And the Republicans' attitude toward him, they're outraged at him.
Yeah.
They're not outraged at the accusations, the allegations that are.
Yeah, no, just like they're outraged at the FBI for investigating Trump instead of the Russians for compromising Trump. It's a cockeyed world over there.
Yeah, it's an absolutely cockeyed world. And so one broke ranks, and now they're attacking him.
Yes.
Do you think any others will break ranks?
Sooner or later, once the hearings start, you'll start getting so. This is why we have to have the hearings. We need to start the impeachment because the problem is Nancy's plan is to have these people come and start having interviews, committee interviews with these folks, and then the Trump's crimes will come out through that.
Wait, what do you mean? These which folks are you alluding to?
All the people who were quoted in the Mueller report.
We'll have private intervieus with them.
No, public interviews.
I see.
She wants to have, but she wants to
hearings.
Yeah,
okay,
hearings,
yeah.
Sorry, hearings. McGahn did not show up.
That was the president's lawyer.
Yeah, the president's lawyer. Mueller is still negotiating with them on how he's going to come in and participate in the hearing. He'd rather have it private. It should be public.
All right, let's talk about Mueller. Which I mean, I'm a little frustrated with Mueller's behavior here. Just the way he.
But he's a Republican. See, Trump was talking about the 18 angry Democrats, which is another Trump lie on this. And so
the 18 angry Democrats who supposedly are the investigators for Mueller.
Yes,
that's what he's alluding to.
Exactly.
And why is that a lie?
Because some of them are neutral. Most of them are Republicans. Just like this, the FBI people that he either drummed out of the office or he's doing all kind of strange things to every way he can. They're mainly Republicans. It is not a liberal club there at the FBI. That's not what happens. These guys are policemen. So that's not and
so Mueller himself.
Mueller is a lifelong Republican.
But okay, all right. See what disappoints.
And he's a Marine. So he's very disciplined, and he's not going to go any further than he has to. The prediction is that when he does come to a hearing, that he's only going to say what was already in the report.
Yeah.
He's not going to go say, well, I think that Trump is Putin's puppet.
Well,
I'm not going to say anything like that.
But there's some merit to that because if he literally just says what's in the report,
right,
then that's a way of presenting to the American people what is in the report.
Of course, because the report is 448 pages long.
Yeah.
And most Americans go to the movie; they don't read the book
or the circus.
Exactly. So they are, most. In fact, most of the congressmen and women have not read the Mueller report.
Yeah.
because it's 440,
It's a lot.
and it's and it's.
Have you read the Mueller report?
I've read accounts of the Mueller
Yeah.
report, and I've read some of the Mueller report. But you got to be really dedicated.
Dedicated. It's not the most scintillating prose.
Exactly.
But your point's very good one about Mueller himself. He's a by the book type of guy
Right.
who is he's very concerned and cautious about how he's perceived
Yes.
in this very partisan investigation, or excuse me, in very partisan fallout from the investigation.
Right. And he witnessed Comey blowing it, so he doesn't want to do the same thing.
What do you mean by Comey blowing it?
Had Comey not come forth with this, he was reopening Hillary's email investigation 10 days before the election. We wouldn't be saddled with Trump now. Hillary was 11 points ahead in the poll.
Yeah.
He comes in and does that, and she went on a dive. Her ratings went on a dive.
So how much legitimacy do you give to Donald Trump's claims that this is all an attempt to rewrite history, that this is all a bad sportsmanship on the part of Democrats who still haven't gotten over Hillary Clinton losing in 2016?
Let's see. He's on record for 10,000 lies. Somewhere in that 10,000 lies.
Yeah.
That is anchored.
Yeah. See, I don't have a problem with that accusation. I'm going to tell you this just straight.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with the accusation that there's bad blood on the part of the Democrats toward Donald Trump, that Democrats still haven't I haven't gotten over the 2016 election. I don't think I'll ever get over the 2016 election because the winner did not win.
Right, but we didn't get. But Democrats were upset when Bush won, thanks to the Florida.
I was very upset back in 2000
exactly,
as
but
well.
they weren't upset like they are now. There's a big difference between Trump and Bush.
Yeah.
And how Trump won and how Bush won.
What's the difference?
The Supreme Court put Bush.
Oh, yeah.
The Russians put Trump.
Yeah, okay. I could say we're descending. Right. I mean, there was more honor in being ushered in by the Republican majority of the Supreme Court as opposed to being ushered in thanks to Putin.
Foreign entity.
Now, here's also my position, which puts me at odds with many of my lefty friends. I absolutely think that there's a portion of America, both on the left and the right, that cannot acknowledge that they were bamboozled by the Russians. They cannot acknowledge and confess and confront the fact that they were manipulated. And that's why I keep coming back to those emails in 2016, because I saw with my own eyes Bernie Sanders delegates booing the Democratic representatives of Hillary. I saw it, and they were manipulated by the emails that were released by the Russians.
Right.
Now I know
the Russians were playing a propaganda warfare overall. I mean, they turned blacks against whites. I mean, they were playing the black community with the Black Lives Matter thing. They were releasing these things. I mean, it was they know psychologically, they know our weaknesses, and they played them like a drum.
Yeah. Well, I like I said, there were some major ideological differences between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, and it was difficult for Bernie Sanders Democrats to accept that the ideology, the sort of centrist ideology of Hillary Clinton, would be the predominant one in the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
So that in itself was a difficult pill to swallow. I openly acknowledge that. I recognize that.
Because you were a Bernie.
I was a Bernie guy, and I mean, I haven't decided who I'm going to vote for in this presidential election, presidential primary, but I absolutely applaud Bernie Sanders for putting these issues to the forefront. Monroe, until Bernie Sanders came around, there was no mainstream politician, and he is effectively a mainstream politician, advocating Medicare for all.
Yeah.
And that's like a centerpiece now.
No, Bernie transformed the party in those 4 years from his run in 2016 to now, because many of his issues are now being repeated or adopted by many of the 20 or so candidates.
Absolutely.
There are. So he's had that impact. But as I've said to you over the last couple of years.
Oh my God, we're going to have this argument again. Go ahead, yeah.
Bernie would not have won then. He won't win now because the Republicans, every ad will be with a hammer and sickle on it. And they just, it's like he's not voting to be socialist taking over.
I'm telling you right now. Yes, you and I are both of the baby boomer persuasion, but millennials don't view it that way, and
the boomers boomers vote than
millennials. Valid point. That's the valid point.
Right.
And so they're going to hear, and Trump already is playing that card. They're already talking about socialism, which is very interesting because Trump's the one who made the deal with Putin, who was a communist spy for the KGB back in the day. All right.
Exactly. No, Trump lives in opposite world. That's how I describe it. Whatever he says is just the opposite of what actually is. And so when he says he doesn't cover up, he covers up. Now he's of course accusing the Democrats of covering up, and the Democrats are doing a great injustice to America. I mean, but everything he says is just the opposite. That's how you can figure out where the truth lies. Is if he says it's raining outside, leave your umbrella at home.
Yeah. That is Monroe Anderson. I'm Ben Joravsky. We're going to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the abortion issue and how it's playing out in this upcoming presidential race. Donald Trump, in my opinion, or the Republican Party, in my opinion, has lost its collective mind. We'll get into that when we return. Did you know that 40% of the people in Illinois opt to be cremated? Well, it's true. And Chicagoland Cremation Options honors their wishes by providing cremation services directly to the general public. Chicagoland Cremation Options provides an affordable, ethical, and easy cremation arrangement, whether in person or online. Save thousands and streamline the process by going directly to Chicagoland Cremation Options. It's a family-owned business operated by my good friend, Douglas Klein. Here's how you reach them. ChicagolandCremationOptions.com. One more time, ChicagolandCremationOptions.com.
Today's Ben Joravsky Show was brought to you in part by Chicago Architecture Center. See the city from a whole new angle on a Chicago Architecture Center tour. With more than 85 tours to choose from, there are endless stories to discover. Book your tour at architecture.org/tours. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm on a tour. Oh my, what magnificent architecture. Read the Chicago Reader to get up to speed on what's what in Chicago. Culture, food, arts and entertainment, weekly concert listings, weekly event listings, the environment, travel. I can continue, but you get the point. And for all of you Chicago political junkies, raw weekly columns on real city politics from Maya Dukmasova and our very own Ben Joravsky. The Chicago Reader, free to the public in newsstands throughout the city and online at chicagoreader.com. Read it now and be a more informed Chicagoan.
Cirque du Soleil's Big Top comes back to Chicago with its latest show, Volta. Venture into a captivating voyage of discovery inspired by the adventurous spirit of freedom, where a surge of action sparks a high-voltage journey. Volta. Playing May 18th through July 6th under the Big Top at Soldier Field. Tickets at CirqueDuSoleil.com. Volta thanks their partners Hennessy Black and Champagne Nicolas Fayette.
Hey, welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show, live from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Yes, indeed, we're live from my beloved bright one. Ray Hannity is in the studio. We're going to bring him on in a little while. Ray Hannity, a legendary Chicago Sun-Times reporter, going back to the days, going back to the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. And when we're going to do a deep dive on local issues at the City Club today. Yep, I was at the City Club. They even gave me this honorary little membership thing.
And guys, if you just tuned in, he wore a blazer.
I had to wear a blazer. First time I was ever invited to the City Club.
A nice blazer, too.
Yeah, it was a nice blazer.
But he forgot his tie.
I didn't forget his tie.
Now,
I
what's
don't
your
even
theory
have
on
a tie.
What's your theory on ties? Mayor Rahm didn't wear a tie. Why should I?
Is that my theory?
You said it the other day.
Oh, did I say that?
What do you remember?
I can't remember anything I said anymore. I don't like ties, man. They pinch the neck. I've never liked ties. Even back a long time ago, my mom used to make me wear it. Put the tie on. I don't want to wear a tie. So I don't really wear a tie. I'm happy to see, as Dennis is pointing out, that more and more mainstream types aren't wearing ties either. So they're coming back to my way.
It's the millennial influence.
It's the millennial. Yeah, even guys in the NBA. I know there's no sports fans in this room, but in the National Basketball, Dennis's National Basketball Association, you see a lot of the coaches in the old days be all tie. Pat Riley with that slick look, and now like Steve Kerr, they got the open collar, they got the Ben look. All right,
the Ben look,
an open collar and a blazer. All right, before we go into the local issues, man. Monroe, I got a bunch of things to talk about. We'll start with Donald Trump and infrastructure. This is he just was talking about this earlier at a press conference today. He's blaming Nancy Pelosi because they can't get an infrastructure deal. I'd just like to point out, Donald Trump controlled both houses for 2 years. If he wanted an infrastructure deal, he could have cut that deal back then. He didn't want to do it.
No, he does. Okay, what he did today was he was supposed to meet with them to talk about infrastructure. They go to the White House to visit with him. They have this meeting, and he talks about Pelosi, saying that he was engaged in a cover-up, and he announces that
she was engaged.
That he was engaged.
Yeah, he's mad at Pelosi for saying he's engaged in a cover-up.
Yeah. And he leaves the meeting before it starts. Goes out into the Rose Garden, where he has a stand set up with a sign on it about no collusion, no obstruction, and he says he's not going to do any deals with them until they quit investigating him. The truth of the matter with the infrastructure is, because they had a meeting earlier, a couple of weeks ago, is he doesn't know where to get the money from. He doesn't have a plan, and so he doesn't have a plan to finance it, and so it's just a talking point for him. So he never has had a plan, except, well, I take it back. His plan was to get his buddies, his 1% buddies, to make money off of it by doing the construction and doing, pinstripe patronism.
Yeah, no, he was looking for a what they call an income stream that he could dedicate to this, much the way the city of Chicago has attempted to pay for its bills by doing things like turning over the parking meter income stream to the people. Effectively, you borrow the money up front, and you pay it back with the proceeds of the income stream, so you end up paying.
Yeah, that was his plan, and plus he's upset because the Democrats' idea for infrastructure has too much green stuff in it, futuristic saving of energy, and he's not interested in that type of thing.
No, it's a sign of where we are politically in this country. I would love to hear Ray Hanania's thoughts on this later on, that Democrats and Republicans can't even get together on an infrastructure bill. Traditionally, when it comes to doling out pork, which is these classic infrastructure bills are, Democrats and Republicans see eye to eye. Right. Everybody likes to dole the stuff out. Everybody needs their roads rebuilt. Everybody needs their bridges rebuilt. Right. I mean, it's something that there's no ideology involved here. It's like basic services, fundamental to operating our government, and they can't see eye to eye on this, then it's a sign of utter dysfunction.
Well, it's the Trump is the problem with it. Period. As he is with our military, with our allies. I mean, this man is so incompetent. This is Trump. He's lazy. He's incompetent. And he's narcissistic.
Okay. It's a trifecta.
Right, exactly.
And
that's just the beginning of his faults.
All right, now please explain to me something, Monroe Anderson, and help me understand the strategy of the Republican Party here. I'm a little confused here. Their attack on right to choose, their attack on abortion.
Yes.
And they have gone to the extreme.
Right.
And we'll be talking about this later this week with a couple of longtime Republicans who are coming in here who've abandoned their party, or because they feel their party's abandoned them.
Yeah.
But obviously the strategists put aside whatever ideological reasons they have, their philosophical opposition to abortion, clearly the strategists in the Republican Party feel that politically this is the avenue to take, that this will help them reelect Donald Trump, hold on to the Senate, and maybe even take back Congress.
That's sort of their thinking. But first of all, they've gotten 2 of their guys on the Supreme Court. And so they think that they can finally kill Roe. And so that's the game plan on that. Is the reason these abortion laws are so obscene is because they figure it'll get it to the Supreme Court quicker than if it was bit by bit, which is what they were doing before, incrementally killing the situation. The other thing is with McConnell.
Mitch McConnell.
Yeah. Is that he was a young senator when Bork was rejected from the Supreme Court.
In 1987, I want to say.
And he was so infuriated with that since then his game plan is just to ramrod everything through. I mean, he's still
an angry old man.
That angry old man.
All right, now listen, I understand the strategy that they're employing by adopting extreme laws that force pro-choice groups and organizations like ACLU, Planned Parenthood, to file appeals and get it to the Supreme Court. And where ultimately they're banking on the 2 rubber stampers that Trump put on to rubber stamp a rejection of Roe. I understand.
Exactly.
I understand what they're up to. What I don't understand is why they think that's good a political idea. Why they think that will help them hold on to the White House, hold on to the Senate, and take back Congress.
Because
most polls I've seen show that people in this country don't agree with those extreme points of view.
They live in an alternative universe. You know, they only talk to right wingers. They only know right wingers, and they think that everybody else thinks like them. And they're in for a rude awakening.
Well, I'll tell you what, if we got rid of the electoral college system that we have in this country, it would probably change some of these tactics, because right now I would argue from just a raw political perspective that taking the hard line on abortion does not hurt them electorally in terms of their base. Do you follow what I'm saying? So in other words, they're going to hold on. I forget how many states, how many electoral college votes there are.
They're going to lose the blue wall that they had, that they took down. They're going to lose that. Right now in Pennsylvania, Biden is 11 points ahead in the polls over Trump.
Well, you're presuming that Biden will be the nominee when you say that.
Everybody else, except there's one out of the top 6 Democrats running for office. All of them beat Trump in the polls, are tied with him, and then I can't remember which one, but one is statistically tied with him. That might be is either Beto or Buttigieg, but one of them is like 1 point underneath.
Yeah. They should just let the election.
Any of them will beat Trump right now if the election were held.
You know what? If the election were held in Pennsylvania, let's just let Pennsylvania decide everything. All right, nobody else gets to vote but Pennsylvania. But I know what you're saying. Everybody's looking at
Pennsylvania. And Michigan, he's doing. The Democrats are doing well.
All right, so we'll have 3 states,
and those are the 3 states that
Wisconsin. Add Wisconsin to that. Nobody else gets to vote because we already know how these states are going. That's just crazy. I want to hear if Ray Hanania could defend this system we have of electing presidents. But everywhere else, every sporting event I know, everything I know, if you get more points than the other guy, you win. Except when it comes to the most important Democratic.
Well, we have to ask Ray how much medical marijuana he has.
All right. No medical marijuana. All right. Before we get to medical marijuana with Ray Hanania, I have to ask you this, Monroe, before we go to break and bring Ray on. Your dear friend, Mayor Rahm, has left office. He's left office, and your dear friend. Anyway, he wrote an essay, which is truly astounding, and I struggle with how much attention should I play to the insane essays that Rahm writes. But he writes this for some reason. The Atlantic which I always thought had a good reputation for being a journal of higher thinking, etc., has hired Mayor Rahm to be a contributing editor. I believe they gave him a title and everything.
Yeah, and he's a ABC. He's going to be with his buddy Chris.
All right, I can see ABC. I mean, ABC, it's TV. It's all a game anyway. It's all ratings. And so he's well-known. He's a celebrity. I understand. You bring him on, you know. It's part of the larger circus. That seems to be the theme of our show today. But, you know, like, The Atlantic is trying to position itself as a thoughtful publication that pays attention to facts. And here you have the former mayor of the city of Chicago, who was arguably the most elitist mayor the city has ever had. In my life, I've lived a long time, okay? Everybody else at least pretended they from the city, they cared about the city, they were of the people of the city, you know, they knew the neighborhoods of the city, you know what I'm saying? Everybody pretend. Rahm comes in from Washington, just like, you know, he's mayor 1% and proud of it. He wrote an essay yesterday chiding the Democrats for being the party of the elites. Did you see this essay?
No, I missed it.
Oh my goodness!
I was tied up with the new mayor,
Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's an interesting point. But some people say, Ben, you got to let it go. All right, let Mayor Rahm say whatever he wants. I have an issue with that though, because he's rewriting complete history. I have a trouble with that. If he's presenting. Do you follow what I'm saying? Like giving advice to people by completely rewriting things.
I don't know, but when he first hit the scene, you know, the mayoral scene, I referred to him as a corporationalist then, and he proved me right.
What do you mean by that, a corporationalist?
He was for corporations. He was the corporations guy. He was the business. He was the wealthy person's guy, the rich person's guy. I mean, that's what he was for. Corporation.
He didn't hide it either.
No, he didn't hide. No, in fact, he brags about all those cutting the procedures to get a permit to build something along the riverfront. He just like cut that. You know, okay, forget that. Let's just get to it and get it done.
Yeah, you know what else he cut and allowed to happen on the riverfront? The big Donald Trump name on that building there in the Chicago River.
Oh yeah, right, exactly. Oh, I know. It was.
That happened under Rahm's watch.
Yeah, well, Rahm picked up the mantle from Daley, the guy Daley, about turning Chicago into Paris.
Yeah,
where all the wealthy and middle class people live in the city. And the poor people live in surrounding
I'm not even
suburbs.
certain about the middle class people living in the city of Chicago anymore. We had Linda Lutton on last week from WBEZ, and she was talking about studies that have shown that Chicago in the last few years demographically has become a city of more extremes. There's wealthier people than there ever been before in the city. And then there's, as always, a good contingent who are poor. It's the middle class that is leaving Chicago.
Well, the poor is leaving too, but the middle class, we're losing. It's too expensive. I mean, if you look at all these little fees that we're being nickel and dime with, you know, you have to pay for your garbage now to get and you have to pay more for your water. I mean, it's these little fees. Parking tickets and speeding tickets have been jacked up quite a bit. So there, it's a death by 1,000 cuts.
Well, everything you're saying just points out how bizarre. I can't even say. I don't even know if irony does justice to the notion of Rahm Emanuel chiding Democrats for being elitists when he has been paying the bills for the city of Chicago on the backs of poor people through parking tickets and impounding cars.
He studied Trump, and this is what Trump does too.
What do you mean?
It's like Trump lies about. He'll take the position opposite of what he's doing and what he's thinking. Trump does it. Mayor Emanuel was an elitist mayor, for sure. But then he's attacking others for being what he is.
You know what? By the way, I have the word elite itself is such a dog whistle in politics. I don't even know what it means anymore. People use the word elite. They want to conjure something. It's like political correctness. People want to use political correctness when it suits their purpose. They don't want to use, like people, there's Republican political correctness. You cannot find one Republican, for instance, who will honor an atheist. You're not going to find a Republican who says, like, an atheist has a right to run for office or, expresses or the Republican, when they give those at the Republican convention and they're talking about all the great religions of the world, then they go, by our atheist friends.
Yeah, no, but the good thing about being an atheist, which I am, is that it scares the living daylights out of Christians. I've had 7-day adventurers or those people, adventures, or the people that come by and ring your doorbell, and they want to come in and give me a lecture or a sermon or something, and I tell them I'm an atheist, and they disappear. They didn't want to be close to anybody like that.
No,
on Facebook, when they start talking about God and Christians and everything, I tell them I'm an atheist.
I didn't.
Kills the conversation.
I did all these years I've known you. I did not. We never talked really. I did not know you were an atheist.
Well, actually, depending on which side of the bed I wake up on, sometimes I'm an agnostic.
I see. Oh well, today I'm feeling a little agnostical.
But I'm not religious.
All right, that I guess is the bottom line. All right. Anyway, Monroe Anderson is his name. He's my guest. Ray Hanania is sitting by. I'm going to keep them both in the studio. We're going to switch gears, do a more local conversation about the first 100 days of various mayors. We go back, and we got some old people in this room with some old brains that still have not died yet, and we can remember Mayor Byrne, Harold Washington, Gene Sawyer, Richie Daley, Rahm Emanuel, and now Lori Lightfoot. So a lot of Chicago political conversation coming up with some really smart people. Get your paper out, get your pencils out, take notes. We're taking the deep dive. We'll be right back.
Today's Ben Joravsky Show was brought to you in part by Chicago Architecture Center. See the city from a whole new angle on a Chicago Architecture Center tour. With more than 85 tours to choose from, there are endless stories to discover. Book your tour at architecture.org/tours. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm on a tour. Oh my, what magnificent architecture! Hey there, producer Dennis here. Thanks for finding and listening to the brand new Ben Joravsky Show. All right, so here's how this works. The Ben Joravsky Show live streams on the Chicago Sun-Times YouTube channel Tuesday through Friday, 1 until 3 p.m. Once the show is over, you can listen to the replay on our YouTube channel, or we throw it online for you to download by 4 p.m. Where can you download the Ben Joravsky Show, you may be asking yourself? Well, you may be asking yourself a fantastic question. You can find previous Ben Joravsky shows and guest interviews through several outlets. The Chicago Sun-Times Online, chicago.suntimes.com, the Chicago Reader Online, chicagoreader.com, and wherever else you listen to your favorite podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Google Play, pick one. Just search for The Ben Joravsky Show. J-O-R-A, V as in victory, S-K-Y. So, let's recap. Tuesday through Friday, 1 until 3 p.m. Live streamed on the Chicago Sun-Times YouTube channel and downloadable by 4 at chicago.suntimes.com, chicagoreader.com, and wherever else you listen to your favorite podcast. Yes, the Ben Joravsky Show is back. We're live and downloaded. Tell your friends and enjoy the rest of the show.
All right, everybody. Hour number 2 of your Ben Joravsky Show for Wednesday, May 22nd is moments away. If you're listening live right now and you're like, oh, what the hell? I thought the show was over. Oh, no. Nuh-uh. We went an hour late, I guess you could say. Ben went to what is it again? What was it?
City Club. They I guess they were feeling very, open-minded. They brought a lefty in there to the City Club. Ray had and he joined the conversation. They're very nice to me. Everybody was really nice.
Not only did they not just shove him in the back like most meetings he goes to, they let him speak on stage.
Yeah, let me speak. All right, enough, Ben. Enough of you and that lefty stuff. And then they announced that Lori Lightfoot was coming in. Everybody was like, oh, wow, Lori Lightfoot's coming next week. Well, get this old lefty off the stage. But I wore a blazer.
Show him that blazer. Show everybody that blazer.
Showed that.
There, look, he doesn't want to take it off the
Hey,
chair.
take it off. I got to put it on again. I got the headphones. Anyway, I wore my wife dressed me up really nice. I got to sit next to Laura Washington and Jen Sabella, some big-time operators.
He's a modest man. He doesn't have to admit that his wife dressed him up, but he does.
She dressed me, man. She's like, you're not going out looking like that. Anyway, it was a lot of fun.
Hour number 2 of your program is just moments away. Technically, I guess hour number 3, we played a bonus interview in the beginning, but regardless, We'd like to thank the following unions for jumping on board here and bringing back the Ben Joravsky Show. First up, the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, Local 126 and District 8, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9, and the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. Big thank you to those groups for jumping on board and bringing back the Ben Joravsky Show. And, of course, today's program is brought to you by our friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. Hour number 2, let's go. Yes, it is Wednesday, May 22nd, and live from the Chicago Sun-Times Chicago Reader Studio on Racine Avenue, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. In this hour of the program, we still got Monroe Anderson in studio, and we welcome reporter Ray Hanania. And now your host, maybe owner of one Blazer. It's a good-looking one, though.
Oh, it's a nice Blazer.
Chicago Reader columnist Ben Joravsky.
Yes, indeed. That's a Blazer as in a jacket, folks, not as a car. Ray Hanania is sitting across the desk from me. Monroe Anderson is still here. Before I bring him on, you got any updates for us, young man?
Absolutely, I do here. I have 2 updates, one local and one national. But first, today's Ben Joravsky Show is brought to you in part by Green Element Resale. It's located at 6241 North Broadway in Chicago, and it's pretty badass, guys. Furniture, appliances, lamps, books, clothes, electronics. Guys, it's a thrift shop, but it's the only thrift shop in Chicago that helps bring you the Ben Joravsky Show. So if you're ever on Broadway between Granville and Devon, tell them thank you and go check out Green Element Resale, 6241 North Broadway, and find more information at greenelementresale.com. Now, this next part may sound a little biased because they're sponsors, but it's the best thrift shop in the world. In the world. All right, so let's do our updates here. Like I said, we got one local and one national. First, the local. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and Fran the Woman Spielman. By the way, check out the Fran Spielman Show if you've yet to do so, chicago.suntimes.com. Embattled Alderman Edward Burke of the 14th Ward was accused Wednesday, today, of violating the city's ethics ordinance by presiding over workers' compensation claims for members of 8 labor unions his law firm represented. The complaint was filed by one Jay Stone.
Jay Stone.
The Maverick son of former longtime Alderman Bernard Stone.
Bernie.
Until his death in December 2014, Bernard Stone was a close friend and longtime ally of Burke.
Yes, and let me just say about Bernie Stone, may he rest in peace. He was the alderman for many years in the 50th Ward on the far north side of Chicago, West Rogers Park. Leia's from that area, neck of the woods, and our show editor, Ray Hanania, of course, remembers Bernie Stone. Bernie Stone was one of the few old-time aldermen who put up with me. Every time I would call him, he would first of all call me back, so I always appreciated that, Ray. And because anybody, just engaging in a dialogue. But then he would always start the conversation by telling me
that would talk to you, right?
Yeah, anybody would talk to me is okay in my book, even if I disagree with him.
And he's a Republican.
Monroe, did you explain to him why the city club invited him? They need to understand TIF. They want to understand how are they going to impose a TIF that they can get past Ben Joravsky?
Well,
so they're getting smart.
That first question, Ray, was about TIF. But let me just say, Bernie used to start every interview with, Ben, you don't know, you don't understand.
That's him.
And that was him. That was him. What you liberals don't understand. And I love Bernie Stone. So anyway, Jay Stone is still, I don't know if you know this, Ray, but Jay went in a totally different direction than Daddy. Ray, Jay Stone is very much a quote-unquote independent reformer. He's been fighting the machine, and his dad was very much a part of the machine.
I remember meeting him when he was a kid.
Is there? All right, let's talk about
a long time ago.
Ray Hanania. When I first moved to Chicago back in 1981, you were already a young reporter for, I want to say, the Southtown. I went to the Municipal Reference Library. I wanted to learn about Chicago politics because I was new to town. I didn't know anything about Chicago politics. I mean, I didn't have the understanding that I really needed to write about it. And I just spent days in the Municipal Reference Library reading old columns and articles. Guys like, oh my God, there was the dude,
Harry Terry Golden, Bob Davis.
Yeah, but then Nate Clay. I mean, there were a lot of people
Nate
that I
Clay,
read. You know,
yeah.
people
Oh,
that I
yeah.
read. The Axeman. I don't know if you remember that. I learned a lot about black politics from the Axeman. And Lou Palmer. Yeah. So it's like I really was taking a deep dive, and you were already writing. You already had a voice. Ray Hanania had a voice. This is back in 81, I want to say.
Yeah.
You couldn't have been like more than 25, 26, whatever you were. And you had this voice that's kind of like a wise ass.
Whiny.
I wouldn't say whiny. That's you. Put yourself down, boy. It wasn't whiny, but it was like this kind of wise ass, streetwise persona. This is how the game is played.
You had to punch the people in power to get attention.
Had to punch the people. All right, explain to people where you first learned about Chicago politics. Obviously, you were born here.
Milt Ray Cove.
Nope.
I was a student in Milt Ray Cove at the University of Illinois. I studied at Northern for 2 years. My draft number was low. I think it was like 32 or something, and I was going to get called up for the Vietnam War. And I was hoping Nixon would have got us out, but no, he had to
double down on it.
So I went into the service, got out, went to the University of Illinois at Circle to study Middle East politics, and Rakov pulled me over and he goes, "Look, you don't want to be a terrorist covering the Middle East. You want to be a terrorist covering City Hall." So I said, "All right, that sounds pretty good. I'll do that." He says it's much safer, and that's how he started.
Now, Milt Rakoff, of course, is a great political scientist. He wrote the
Make no
books.
waves, don't back no losers. We don't want nobody sent.
Right.
These are great lines from Chicago politicians.
His
right?
oral histories.
Yeah.
An interesting
Hilarious.
thing, a little trivia point that means nothing to absolutely anybody. Well, that's why I will state this. Two of the greatest scribes of Chicago history were both initialed M.R. Think about it.
Wow.
Whoa, get out the bung.
All right, there you go.
Mike Royko and Milton Rakoff. And they, of course, went at it a little differently. Now, Ray, but you are from Chicago, so you didn't have to do
I lived on the southeast side.
Okay.
Until Monroe moved into my neighborhood in 1968, and we fled to the suburbs.
When you
basically,
not literally Monroe.
No, but
not literally Monroe.
I think it was Monroe. I think it was Monroe. He was like,
Monroe's in Gary.
He's been hounding me ever since I got at City Hall.
But leave the poor guy alone. He was living in Gary, Indiana. I went to Roosevelt High School, and I had nothing to do with the Southeast. Although, if you keep going southeast, you'll end up in Gary.
Hill Hill.
So you went to
I went to
Bowen
High School. For
then you
2
went
years.
to Bogan.
Yeah, and then I went to Bogan. I was the darkest kid at Bogan. Where were you when I needed you, Monroe? So I get
wasn't going to Bogan.
I was there 6 weeks.
I couldn't even walk through the neighborhood.
I was there 6 weeks, and the principal, Mr. Avers, one of the senior principals over there, grabbed me by the collar. He goes, "Your hair's too long and your jeans are really raggedy." And I go, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "You're out of here. You need to go to Calumet," which was the all-black school down south. I think it was southeast of Bogan.
Yes.
So I didn't last long. I
Yeah.
didn't last long.
That's Chicago.
Oh, so Chicago, and folks, I'm going to, so our younger listeners, give me a little history here. When he went to Bowen, B-O-W-E-N or A?
Ian.
Ian. I always, me spelling, Ray. I could hear E or A. Bowen is on the southeast side, near the lake, in the 7th Ward. Or
10th Ward, 8th Ward, right around there now. They moved the wards around.
But I think it's the 7th when you were there. Anyway, doesn't matter.
And they had the steel mill still.
The steel mill
mills,
country, very integrated. A lot of different types of
Everybody
people.
had their own pocket.
Yeah.
You know, we were a group of Arabs living with Jews. There was like a Polish area. There was a Eastern Serbian area. There were
How many
and African American. No, there were none. There were no blacks.
Exactly.
There were some blacks,
there were
like,
some
on the other
blacks
side of
working
the-
at the church and at the synagogue.
Yeah, right.
They were there only on the weekends. And then, but the black community was west of Stony Island, because when I finally got my first job illegally at 14, telling people I was 16, working a Jewel, Muhammad Ali would come to the Jewel right at the border between the black and white area.
which
and I
which
would
Jewel
carry
would-
his right at
grocery?
87th and Stony Island.
Muhammad Ali would come to that?
Yeah, and he'd pull up in a brand new Lincoln Continental, the Lincoln Continental 1. That was before they had the Roman numerals.
And
he'd pick me out. He'd say, "Give me that guy over there, the dark kid," and I'd carry his bags out to the car, and he'd give me $1.
That's it?
Little did he know.
He's Muhammad Ali. Gave you $1?
Yeah. Hey, that was a lot back then. We're talking in the 60s. That was like a $10 tip.
All right, that's pretty good. All right, now, so then to move from Bowen to Bogan, Bogan, back in the late 60s, early 70s, was an extreme move racially, politically, because even though it's the same city, Bogan is on the far southwest side, and back in those days...
Yeah, blacks and whites didn't live together, Hispanics, blacks and whites, we all lived in different neighborhoods. Even the white areas were divided ethnically.
Mm-hmm.
So African-Americans, realtors brought African-Americans into our neighborhood and went around telling all the white people, if you don't sell your house, you're going to lose every penny. So literally the white neighbors I remember they'd organize these meetings and say, don't move. And the next morning, that person who was saying don't move was the first person to sell the house.
A raisin in the sun.
Yes, a raisin.
Well, I wrote a book online called Midnight Flight, because you'd say goodnight to your neighbor, and the next morning there'd be a black family living in the house. That's how it was.
That's how extreme it was. And then when
we were black, being Arab.
Yeah.
And we were running until I got to Bogan. And,
so you come to...
Then it was up. It was over.
You watched the boundaries in the city of Chicago. This was happening in real time. Between the black neighborhoods and the white neighborhoods continually moving west.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like at Halstead, and then it made its way to Ashland.
They had that Father Lawler at Ashland Avenue.
Very good.
I remember all these guys, because you could not live in Chicago without wondering, well, who is a black person?
Ladies and gentlemen,
I didn't meet any.
We are now going to give Ray Hanania a trivia test. Okay? We're going to see how sharp that memory is for Ray. And if he's victorious, we will mail him some frozen steaks. Are you ready, young man?
Yeah, don't expect those steaks.
I'm not
We don't do that.
All right.
I'm in my 60s. I don't eat steak.
Father Lawler, the aforementioned Father Lawler, was the alderman of what
15th
ward?
Ward.
Man, give that man the frozen steaks.
That was easy. That was easy.
That was easy.
Listen, who were the two guys that used to hang around with Bernie Stone all the time? The trio walking around City Hall talking to everybody.
Oh, it was Fred Rohde.
Would
be one. Fred Rohde from alderman of the first ward. There was another one?
Yep. Oh, yeah. John Madrick.
Oh, John Madrick from the 13th Ward. Johnny,
That's right.
Silent John.
I'm not saying anything. Walk in, look at
right?
the press room and say, we don't understand how anybody allows you to stay here for free.
What, do you want you to rent the place?
They were going to kick us out. They were going, why even give the press free room and board?
All right, so you went to Bogan, then you didn't last there very long.
No, 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Right.
I think Tom McNamee was there.
Tommy Mac.
He may have stood up and said, leave the guy. One day, this guy looks like he could be a good writer.
Tom McNamee, of course, editor of the editorial page here at the Sun-Times. Good friend of the Ben Joravsky Show.
Always from Bogan. You always talk about him from
Yes,
Bogan.
1973, graduate of Bogan High School. All right, so Milt Rakoff, the political scientist, steers you in the direction
of
politics. You get a job at the Southtown Economist, and then you find your way to my beloved bright one, the Chicago Sun-Times. When you start writing for the Sun-Times?
Well, I started writing for the Southtown. I was writing letters to the editor about the Middle East, screaming and yelling. And I would handwrite 10 pages, and I'd bring them to the editor. And one day the editor goes, hey, how would you like to work for the paper? Because I'm tired of retyping all your letters. So he literally hired me and put me in charge of the education beat. And of course, I was educated in Chicago, where nobody can count or read. And then I ended up becoming City Hall reporter because
you can't count or read.
Do you remember this guy, Michael
Bolandic, of course.
He was the mayor.
Uh-huh.
And he was the most boring mayor the city ever had.
For sure.
And the biggest story was on the front page of the Tribune in 1978. Bolandic to run marathon in Ridge, in the Chicago Ridge. What was that, out in the south side? That was the big story. It was like an exclusive. It was all over TV and the radio. And the editor of the Southtown stood on a desk. I don't know why they always do this. Bruce Sagan gets on a desk and goes, we're going to go daily with the demise of the Daily News. Who wants to go to City Hall? And everybody ducked. But I was too dumb to know what he was talking about, so I ended up going to City Hall, and that's what happened. That's how I got there.
So you went to City Hall in 78.
Yep.
And so describe what you saw when you showed up at City Hall in 1978.
no black people.
No, well, there was one desk. There was one desk for the black reporter from the Chicago Defender who never showed up.
Right, because I was the first black reporter to cover City Hall.
And that was
in 82.
82.
For a major white newspaper.
We thought he was Puerto Rican. We let him.
He thought he was Puerto Rican. So that is pretty astounding, by the way. So folks should understand the depths of segregation and racism in the city of Chicago. 1978, the city had to be at least 40% black by then.
One of the first things Harold Washington did was he walked down to the City Hall press room, looked at us, said, "You guys ever been to the Hood? Get ready."
Right.
That was like our first week after he was inaugurated.
And they were worried about that.
Yes, we were.
Right.
And that was the first time newspapers said, we're going to assign a second reporter to help you.
The black
guy. The white reporter will stay at City Hall.
Yeah, the black guy would go with Harold.
You'll go to the South Side to eat breakfast with him in the morning.
All right, so who are some of the characters that you met back in 1978? There were no black people. Okay.
Harry Golden was
legendary.
sitting at a typewriter and always
holding court.
Growling. He was kind of growling.
It was like the other reporters.
You're like at the zoo and there's this tiger there going, or a dragon. And I went up to him and I said, "Hey, Harry, you've been here at the Bolandic's press secretary." What was the lady's name? I can't remember. She goes, "You've been here 8 years. Why would anybody want to be here 8 years?" And he goes, "What do you know?" He starts screaming and yelling at me. And then Bob Davis from the Tribune comes up. He goes, "Hey, get over here." And I walk over by his desk and he pulls open his drawer and he says, "See this key?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "This is the most important key in the City Hall press room." I go, "Really? What's it for?" He goes, he walked up, took the key, went to this big cabinet, looked like a TV set. And he goes, "It's for this cabinet. And you never touch this key." And he put the key in the door, opened the cabinet, and it was filled with booze. Crown Royal, because from the alderman would give him booze.
That is amazing. Would they ever drink the booze?
All the time. Are you kidding? We used to smoke in the City Hall press room in the beginning.
Cigarettes. No reefer.
Cigarettes and cigars. Aldermen used to come in with cigars. Smoke-filled rooms. They really existed.
And when I covered City Hall in 83, it was 83, okay. Anyway, there were a couple of aldermen who shall go unnamed where you could smell this marijuana being smoked in their offices.
Is that right?
I think Monroe was bringing the reefer. Okay,
I was going to say.
That's why we let him into the press room.
No.
And it's not marijuana, it's doobies and reefers.
Wait, time out. The culture of the City Hall press room in the 1970s, Ray Hanania, correct me if I'm wrong, would not have been inducive to marijuana smoking. Am I right about that?
Oh, yeah, no.
It's like cigars.
There would have been cigars.
Cigarettes.
Booze. And booze was assigned to your ward, depending on what part of the city you were in. Your Crown Royal was from the north side.
This was the west side.
And the Roman Puczynski used to bring this Polish vodka that we used to clean our shoes with. It was so strong. And he'd bring it, give everybody a bottle.
Crown Royal from the north side?
Harry would take that Crown Royal bottle, every one of them from every reporter. Nobody could keep it. He'd take the bottle, put it in the cabinet, and then he'd take the bag, the velour bag that it was in, and then he'd put his newspaper clippings inside there.
All right. So now, 1978, you're there. Michael Bolandic is the mayor. He, of course, was the mayor who was filling the last 2 years of Richard J. Daley's term. Richard J. Daley died in office. And then there was the 1979 election that has some parallels to what we went through just now, where this is earth-shattering upset. Jane Byrne defeated Michael Bolandic. First time ever. The machine lost.
And Mike Royko gave her 36,000 votes. His column was valued at 36. He was like a precinct captain for the media.
Yeah.
They said his column could deliver 36,000 votes.
Who came up with that number?
But actually, Bolandic gave her the office by you had the storm.
The snowstorm, the blizzard.
Yeah. And what they did was they had the trains coming in, and they didn't stop in the black community.
They passed up Monroe every time.
Exactly.
It's true. That's what they did.
Monroe hasn't ridden a train in a long time. All right.
But you had these black people standing
who got upset.
got upset, and they voted for Byrne.
Yeah. I mean, about time. Good God.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Blandick was a bean counter who knew how to run.
Right.
He could run a marathon.
Jog running.
Yeah,
His
jog.
mother was dying at the time also. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, she died right just before the election.
Right.
It got him about 10,000 votes, but that was it.
So Jane Byrne.
Mike Blandick.
Wait, time out. Let's go back to the Royco thing. Where'd you get that 36,000 number? Was
That was,
Royco.
Harry Goldman, maybe Royco, but Harry Goldman.
Royco.
Jay McMullen, who was Jane Byrne's husband, would come in there and say, Mike Royco, we're going to win, because Royco was writing all these columns beating up on Blandick. This guy, Royco, was a great writer because his best line was, even in Chicago, there should be a speed limit on how fast a city employee can turn a bribe.
Yeah.
That's a great line.
No, he's a great. He come up with those lines, man.
No, he's a great writer.
All right, so you're a rookie reporter. You're downtown. Jane Byrne's running. What were your initial thoughts of Jane Byrne when she was this insurgent candidate?
Well, nobody covered her except the community press. I was writing for the Southtown. She came out to the Southwest Side. There were a lot of white women from Bogan High School, the Bogan Broads.
Yeah.
A lot of them were actually nice ladies. Yeah, but that was the name they gave themselves,
Yes, that's
Bogan
correct.
Broads. And so they invited Byrne out there, and Byrne was talking to them saying, hey, you guys have been pushed out of government. You don't have a voice. I'm going to give you your voice back. Blandick pretty much ignored everybody. And, that's how I met her. I would go out to the Southwest Side and cover her. And, she was pretty nice. She talked to me all the time. Always was happy.
And she was it?
She'd have a wig.
Yeah.
And a heavy coat.
Did you think she could possibly win?
Nobody thought she could win.
When did you first think?
When Alderman Ed Burke at a birthday party for Fred Rohde at City Hall. They were not hiding anything back then. When they wanted to use government to celebrate somebody's birthday, they'd do it at City Hall, and they'd use all the booze from the City Hall
press car.
coffers.
Yeah.
He said nobody's going to vote for her. Nobody votes for their aunt.
Yeah.
He said nobody votes for their aunt. Nobody wants Aunt Jane, to be elected mayor of Chicago. And then afterwards, he said, "We have a problem." To Harry.
Harry Golden.
This was like about maybe 10 days before the election, and we kind of knew that these guys were nervous, but they still thought they could pull it off. But when they lost, it was the biggest story in.
Well,
in
Ray,
the state.
I have to say this. I'm not from Chicago, so everything I'm learn about Chicago is I'm literally learning it for the first time. So there's disadvantages and advantages. One of the advantages is that I think Chicago behavior is weird because this is not acceptable behavior. So get back to Blandick. Let's just talk about this. Utter arrogance of the people who run this city. They did not clear the streets. Then they told people, move your cars to these designated parking lots.
It was worse than that. He had a deputy mayor that they paid $90,000 for a 90-page report on how to deal with snow.
Yeah.
And the main conclusion was to get rid of the snow after a big snowfall, you shovel the snow.
Yeah. No, I could have told them that. I would have done it for $45,000. But they told people, dig your cars out, move them to these designated lots.
Yes.
When people went outside, and this is some serious snow.
And that was the Tribune that Bob Davis, he went out to the lots to check them. And give him credit.
Time out. I got to give the Tribune credit something for Ray Anthony.
I know
that's hard for me to do.
The Sun-Times was phenomenal. I loved working there. I got hired in '85 to work for him. But Bob Davis actually went out to a lot, and it was because he lived out in that area, and he couldn't park his car. He came to work late, several hours, and he wrote a big story about how they said they plowed these lots, but they never did.
Well, I also remember TV reporters, we are standing in the TV reporters.
Well, they would follow all the newspapers. Remember the day Monroe when newspapers led the news, and the radio reporters and the TV reporters, they literally put me on retainer. I was working for ABC, WLS and NBC to bring them up to speed on what was happening at City Hall.
All right.
No, Joyce was working at Channel 2.
Joyce is Monroe's wife.
She's working at Channel 2 in the late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that they would read the Sun-Times and the Tribune and then decide what stories they were going to cover.
Yeah.
And her position was, well, can't you go out and find your own news? You're supposed to be news reporters.
No,
Can't
come
you
on.
And that's when it changed, when it shifted from print all the way to radio and TV.
Yes,
All
exactly.
right. That's Ray
When
Hannon.
Monroe was at WBBM.
Right, I went with the flow.
You went with the flow where the money was.
And that's why we have Trump today, because of TV.
We will do a little more talk about those Jane Byrne years with Ray Hanania and Monroe Anderson when we return.
Read the Chicago Reader to get up to speed on what's what in Chicago. Culture, food, arts and entertainment, weekly concert listings, weekly event listings, the environment, travel. I can continue, but you get the point. And for all of you Chicago political junkies, raw weekly columns on real city politics from Maya Dukmasova and our very own Ben Joravsky. The Chicago Reader, free to the public in newsstands throughout the city and online at chicagoreader.com. Read it now and be a more informed Chicagoan.
Cirque du Soleil's Big Top comes back to Chicago with its latest show, Volta. Venture into a captivating voyage of discovery inspired by the adventurous spirit of freedom, where a surge of action sparks a high-voltage journey. Volta. Playing May 18th through July 6th under the Big Top at Soldier Field. Tickets at CirqueDuSoleil.com. Volta thanks their partners Hennessy Black and Champagne Nicolas Fayette.
But we got to get down to business.
Did you know that 40% of the people in Illinois opt to be cremated? Well, it's true. And Chicagoland Cremation Options honors their wishes by providing cremation services directly to the general public. Chicagoland Cremation Options provides an affordable, ethical, and easy cremation arrangement, whether in person or online. Save thousands and streamline the process by going directly to Chicagoland Cremation Options. It's a family-owned business operated by my good friend, Douglas Klein. Here's how you reach them. ChicagolandCremationOptions.com. One more time, ChicagolandCremationOptions.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show, live from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Yes, indeed. We're having a lot of fun here. Ray Hanania, Monroe Anderson, and myself, three old-timers sitting around talking Chicago politics. We go way back. You put all our ages together, we're well over 100 years old.
Wait, let me do the math. Holy cow.
Yeah, I know. We got to bring in Dan Biss for this heavy
I
lifting.
think we're 200.
Oh, my God. All right. Yeah, maybe you're at 200. So before we go back to our stories about the first 100 days of various mayors, what you got for me, D?
I'm doing the math again. Whoa, we're really old. You guys are old altogether. All right. Yes, we're doing the first 100 days here throughout mayoral history. Mm-hmm. And let's talk about the first 100 days of our new mayor, Lori Lightfoot. The following comes from the Illinois Political Bulldogs at Illinois Politico and one Shia Kapos. Mm-hmm. Mayor-elect Lori Lightfoot named more top staffers Tuesday and announced she'd be keeping some familiar faces from former Mayor Rahm Emanuel's administration. Mm-hmm. Remaining in their current positions, Chicago Police Department Superintendent Eddie Johnson, Chicago Public Schools CEO Janice Jackson, City Colleges of Chicago Chancellor Juan Salgado, Chicago Transit Authority President Dorbal Carter, Chicago Park District Superintendent Michael Kelly, and Chicago Housing Authority CEO Eugene Jones. Ben Joravsky, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, obviously she figured there were too much that she had to deal with coming in as a rookie, first-time elected official, never held office before, get rid of all these people. This is kind of unusual. Mayor, we'll talk about this when we go back to our first 100 days of, let's say, Harold Washington. I mean, Harold Washington ran on getting rid of the police commissioner, police superintendent Brezak. Richard Brezak must go. I can still hear him saying that. So Richard Brezak must go. And that probably could, we'll talk about this, get Ray and Monroe's opinion. Maybe Harold went too far and may have caused more political problems for himself than he realized when he made those declarations. But Lori Lightfoot, I mean, she's the boss. they're going to do what she says anyway. You know, Rahm's not the boss there. I don't know, Rahm's riding his bicycle somewhere, making up stories about elites, and so he's not in charge anymore. They're probably telling her, you know what they're telling her, Ray Hanania? They're telling her, Lori, I disagreed with everything Rahm said.
Right.
He was such, oh my God, Lori, you don't know how bad he was.
That was Perry Hutchinson's excuse when they brought him in a wheelchair, as Mark Brown was writing about this week. You know, what Lori's doing that's change, right? Well, didn't she say she's going to bring change? It doesn't sound like a lot of change. Every new mayor says, we're going to bring change. We're going to change everything.
Yeah.
And they end up changing nothing. Jane Byrne was the only one who really changed the first 6 months, and then she got upset with her floor leaders.
I don't think she waited 6 months.
Oh yeah, it was. I think it was August of 79.
Yeah, God, I remember. So they were
No,
filming.
August of 79. I wrote the first story. Bill Lipinski was the alderman. He came down. He was Southwest Sider. He goes, Ray, we've been dumped. I go, what do you mean you've been dumped?
Oh.
She goes, yeah, we just were told. I went upstairs and I was waiting for Jane Byrne, and I think he was with Alderman Aiello and Alderman Oberman, and Byrne's secretary for the first time said, you guys wait outside.
Mm-hmm.
And after they waited, suddenly John DeArco's, first his cigar comes through the doorway.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of hanging. It dances on his lower lip. It never fell off. It was funny. It was like super glued on there. He'd be talking and the cigar would be there. The cigar first came out, and then Ed Verdoliak came out. Then Ed Burke came out, the Kabbalah, and Fred Rohde, the evil Kabbalah men.
Yeah.
And she said, from now on, Ed Verdoliak's my floor leader. You follow him.
That, I'm going to tell you, we'll bet you lunch at the restaurant of your choice was earlier than August. She was elected mayor in April of 1979 when she beat for 10 trivia points. Who'd she beat? Who'd she beat?
She beat Johnson.
No, yeah, very good. We'll give it to him. Wally Johnson.
It was my column that broke the story, though, that she flipped. And then the Tribune and the Sun-Times picked up on it. And Jane got upset with me, and Jay McMullen called me and threatened to punch me in the nose.
Jay McMullen is the mayor's husband,
right.
Mayor Burns'
former
husband.
Daily News reporter.
Yes. Anyway, so do you have any more updates before we went on a tangent within a tangent?
Oh, no, that's all right.
No.
Actually, I do have one update. It's national news here. I wanted to get Monroe's take.
Oh, Monroe.
Maybe get a little advice from Monroe Anderson here.
Right, Monroe, step up.
Let me scroll down here and look. Okay, here we go. Donald Trump Jr. is set to follow in his father's footsteps.
God.
By becoming an author. The first son, who earlier today was described as, quote, a good young man, not sure who said that, by his father, okay, has signed a deal with Center Street Books, and the tome will be published later this year. It will be Trump Jr.'s first book, and according to Politico, it will focus on politics, current events, and the future of the MAGA movement. Trump Sr. has penned 19 books himself.
What? He never penned anything. He got his name on 19 books.
I wonder if Junior will ever read his book.
Yeah, that is true.
So with this information here that we're learning about Donald Trump Jr. publishing a book, Monroe, any ideas? Let's help him out here. Any ideas for the title of that book?
Son of a gun.
Son of a gun.
Bad.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Whoa, that's good. I like that.
Let me think of
Daddy's boy.
Yeah, right, Daddy's boy. Right.
Daddy's boy.
How about another cup of Kool-Aid?
Another cup of Kool-Aid.
Because that's what it'll take to believe anything that is written in that book.
Could you pass me the Kool-Aid, Monroe? Because I'm feeling thirsty. I haven't had any this morning.
Ray Hanania, big-time Trump supporter.
I can see the wheels in Monroe's brain spinning.
Yeah, right.
You got a good one?
Right. No, well, see, this is the thing is that he's not going to write this book. Somebody else is going to write it. You know, it reminds me of Charles Barkley.
Yes, Charles Barkley.
Where he complained because he was misquoted in his autobiography.
After that came out, I was misquoted.
Right.
It's your autobiography. Oh, yeah. Charles Barkley. Okay, anyway, Donald Trump Jr.
Any ideas for a title of the book for Donald Trump Jr.'s book? Ben?
Daddy's Boy. I'm sticking with Daddy's Boy.
Daddy's Boy.
Because he would be nowhere without Daddy. All right?
Or better yet, Granddaddy's Boy.
Yeah, really.
I like
Fred Trump.
anything if it hadn't been for Daddy.
Fred Trump.
I like Pass the Kool-Aid. I'm sorry.
Pass the Kool-Aid. All right. There you go, Donald. He's a huge fan of this show, by the way.
Loves
Donald
the
Trump.
show.
Oh, he's weighing in. He tweets
He
us.
loved that blazer. He tweeted.
He may call in any minute now.
Yeah, he's calling in
Needs
right
to
now.
understand TIFs.
By the way, let's just say this about the City Club, the TIFs, Ray. I just have to clarify something. The first question out of the box was about TIFs, all right? And now I'm saying the City Club is this august group of movers and shakers of the city of Chicago, and they love the TIF program, okay? Because the TIF program works really well for them. And they're like, don't say anything bad about those TIFs. I'm like, well, I know I don't agree with everybody in the room here on TIFs.
You didn't get mugged there when you were leaving? Oh, wait, they did give you a mug.
They gave me a mug.
That was close.
Oh, Ray's got a million of them. They not only gave me a mug, as I said, they gave me this. I am now a member of the City Club.
Have you put it under one of those black lights to see what else is written on there? Because there might be some things written on there you may not want to see. Or may show up in the middle of the night.
And a name card or a placard or whatever this thing is. Oh, yeah, this is good.
A piece of paper with your name on it.
That was like a target. So they want to make sure people knew which one to nail.
You know Ray did stand up, right?
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
I did stand up. Yeah. After September 11th, some lady came up to me and she said, I can't believe, because I'm a Christian Arab, Palestinian. She came up to me and said, I can't believe you gave up your Christian religion to become an Arab. She said that. And I looked at her and I go, lady, I just had 3 cavity searches, okay? I'm not in a good mood. Please don't talk to me. I got to go call my cell long distance. It's going to cost me a fortune. And she started laughing.
In your opinion, 3 greatest comics of all time. Go.
Jackie Mason, Ray Hanania.
Oh, wow.
And Aaron Freeman.
Aaron Freeman's great, and Jackie Mason. Amazing that
He hated me. He's the guy that kicked me off of a comedy stage at Zany's. That's, I always end up advancing Monroe when somebody either threatens to punch me in the nose or kicks me off a comedy stage.
Wait, time out. But why would you put Jackie Mason on that list?
He didn't know. I'm joking. I love Jackie Mason.
Hilarious.
He was hilarious. He was. But when he thought he was told I was Arab and I was going to open for a show that he was doing, and then somebody said, no, he's not just an Arab. He's Palestinian.
And they kicked you off
and
the
they
show.
kicked me off the show.
Yeah,
And it just went international.
For the record, Ray Hanania, as he said, Christian Palestinian. Well, he's American, but his parents come from Palestine. He is married to a Jewish woman, and his son was bar mitzvah. How about that?
Yeah,
and the kid's sitting right
he's
there.
right here, and he wrote a book too.
He wrote a book
My
already?
dad is an Arab. Leave him alone.
Hey, maybe that should be the title of Donald Trump Jr.'s book. My dad is an Arab.
My dad's
Leave
an
him
Arab.
alone.
Or how about my dad is a Russian?
There we go.
Winner.
There we go. All right, so let's go back to Chicago politics.
Kool-Aid and collusion. That's all. That would be a
Man,
better
we're
title.
getting better. Kool-Aid and collusion. All right, so Jane Byrne is the mayor of the city of Chicago.
Yes.
We're going to have to agree to disagree on when she decided to flip and join the cabal. I say it was within the first month of her taking office. You're saying it wasn't until
No, I'll
August.
tell you exactly, and I'll be real quick. It was when they were doing the investigation of that Croatian terrorist that
Yeah, I remember
hijacked
that,
the plane. That was in the summer. And Victor Verdoliak, Ed Verdoliak's brother, was the police chief, and Byrne was upset that he got all that TV attention and wanted him fired. And her floor leaders couldn't punish the guy because Ed Verdoliak was so good at parliament.
We're just going to have to hold off on this one. The only thing I remember from the August of 1979, heavy marijuana use for me in those years, Ray Hanania.
At Chicago Fest. At Chicago Fest.
They closed down Lakeshore Drive to film The Blues Brothers. When
Yeah.
you said August 79,
Oh, yeah.
I just flashed back
That's
to...
where she did the guns with the hand picture with the Blues Brothers.
With the glasses.
And that photo got out about her looking like a mobster with the hat.
It was like
and
a great
everything.
thing for her, but she
They
objected to it.
Well, she was no longer loved. She flipped. She flipped to the dark side, and I'm telling you, she went completely to the.
She went over
dark
to the
side.
Verdoliak, and it's
Charlie Swibel.
Charlie Swibel was in charge of the CHA. But by the way, just think about this for a moment. Ed Burke. That's 1979. He was already represented the dark side. He is still an alderman from the 14th Ward. He's only lost the most powerful position in the city council's chair of the finance committee because the feds finally got around to charging him. It's a disgrace to the city of Chicago, Ray Hanania, that he's
40 years. It took 40 years. I mean, and I'll be honest, out of all of the politicians, Ed Burke was probably the least bad of all of them, honestly.
What do you mean the least
because I
bad?
put him in context of Ed Verdoliak, the D'Arcos, some of these aldermen from the South Side.
D'Arco was a
were part
committeeman
of
from the first
machine.
ward.
Yeah, I mean, some of these machine aldermen were pretty bad.
When you say bad, what do you mean?
Well, they were just I don't know how to describe it. They would the rules committee was set up so that a developer would come in and give you, the alderman in the, let's say, the 8th ward, $1,000 donation. You would then introduce the developer's development zoning change. If it passed, because you would allow it, he would then come and give you $1,000 after.
That was the
vote.
bonus.
And you could. And one of my first stories at the Sun-Times in '85 was because Danny Davis took over the zoning, committee. He said, "Ray, you can come and look at all the records, and you could literally track the money from when it was donated, the zoning ordinance, and then the payoff, the follow-up payment that came after."
All right, so I'm going to ask a question that's going as a follow-up to that question. I'll ask both of you this. Am I being naive when I say Chicago is cleaner now than it was back then?
Go ahead, Monroe.
I think it will be because we're getting rid of automatic privilege.
Oh, I see. Okay, don't get me started on that phony issue.
They're not
All
going to
right.
do anything with aldermanic privilege. These are aldermen. These are all politicians. I don't care. Jane Byrne, the one thing that I realized after covering City Hall is, and listen, I think Jane Byrne was unfairly treated.
Why do you say that?
By the media. When she flipped, we savaged her. I think we were unfair. Rich Daley was behind the scenes trying to do a number on her. That was part of the reason she put Verdoliak in power, because Verdoliak came to her and said, "Listen, I only want power. Rich Daley, her ally, wants your job." And I think she ended up believing it. But
it was true.
It was true. Because it was
reason
true.
to believe
They
it.
had a plan. They were going to take over. But every politician starts out wanting to do the right thing, I think. And they realize the system doesn't allow you to do that. You have to get elected not by your enemies. You got to get elected by your friends, and friends want stuff.
Right.
And friends ask for things, and it doesn't seem like a tough thing to hire somebody who's a relative until after it's on the front page of the Sun-Times. Nepotism, from industry, right,
plus,
Monroe, that hires all its relatives
exactly.
anyway. So.
Right. No, they have. When I was press secretary, Alderman Mell came into my office one day with a list of people that he wanted to have jobs. They wanted they wanted to have jobs, and he says to me, "You tell Gene that."
Meaning Mayor Sawyer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Who is a nice guy.
Yeah, that either he hires these people on our list, or we're going to run one of our guys against him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it.
That was it.
I thought he wrote, "I was going to hit you with an ashtray."
Did he get the jobs?
No, Sawyer couldn't do the job.
Monroe doesn't want to admit it. He's taking the fifth.
No, he did no, because no. Seriously, he couldn't do that because he was already painted as being part of the former 29's guy.
All right, we're going to get into all that, but let's just start with 1983's election. We barely got out of 79. We're running out of time
Harold
here.
Washington was brilliant. Funniest guy that ever walked into City Hall.
Yeah.
He had a great sense of humor.
Yeah, he did.
He once looked at Alderman Orbach, I think, and he said, "I don't trust that guy. He has a smile like a bent tin can."
Yeah, Mike, that's good.
That was a Mike Royko line.
Yeah.
I mean, but that Mike Royko had never written, but he was that smart.
Harold was being interviewed by City Hall reporters, mostly white, and somebody asked him about
I'm dark.
something being kinky.
Yeah.
And he looks at him and he says, "What do you mean by kinky? Why couldn't it be straight?" It's, with the hair.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're like, huh?
Exactly.
Huh?
Right, exactly.
What?
Right. To go to the South Side to cover who?
Harold Washington.
So he was
truly
good.
Yeah, he was. Best mayor of my life.
He just
by
did.
far.
I'll tell you, he was a great mayor.
Yeah.
He just didn't have the votes to do what he wanted to. But the truth was, he was a good guy, but he was a politician too. When the lights were not on, when the cameras weren't on, There were these off-the-record moments where he and Verdoliak would be talking and laughing. Ed Burke would be talking with them. They'd
I don't
be
believe
joking
that.
around. I'm telling you,
Not
they
the
would.
Ed Burke part. I believe the Verdoliak
right,
part, but not the Ed Burke
No,
part.
he
Ed Burke.
He said that.
Yes,
he said
come on.
That Verdoliak was just a businessman into power.
Yeah.
And he said that, so he was doing what he was doing because of that. He said he thought Burke was truly a racist.
Yeah. No, he told me that too.
Yeah.
He told me that. I got that on tape.
Right.
And listen, Harold Washington was one of a kind on so many levels. His mastery of the language was something that, I was not the smartest kid in the world, Ray and Monroe. And I remember I was interviewing him once. This is back in '82. And he said, I'm not for quid pro quo. It was like me trying to pronounce Circus Du Soleil.
Right.
I'm like,
Oh, that was a blast.
yeah, I'm like,
So,
oh, excuse me, mister. I went to France once. So I'm like, I wrote it down as phonetically as I could, Ray and Monroe, because I was embarrassed to admit I didn't know what he was talking about. And as soon as the interview was over, I was like, hey, does anybody know what this is? Oh, God, Ben, you don't know anything. But I love the man
he
dearly.
did that intentionally. He loved sending reporters to the dictionary.
Antediluvian. I don't know what that was.
right,
You know what
right,
antediluvian is, Ray?
Before the flood.
Look
but
at Ray.
That's okay.
He
I had to
wasn't
look
a
it up
poet.
when he first said it. I
he
had to
didn't know
look it
when
up.
he
I
first-
had
He didn't know.
we
He's a
didn't know
graduate
that
of
stuff.
Revis High School.
But
He should
listen,
know
you
that.
can't say, though, that once he got into office, listen, there's politics. You could find problems with any kind of politics. There's nothing, that can't be criticized in politics.
All right, Ray, but I do not want my show to contribute to the notion, so I'm going to vehemently disagree with you.
That's right.
That the opposition, led by Fast Eddie Verdoliak of the 10th Ward and Ed Burke of the 14th Ward, was anything other than racial in origin. It was the most bigoted display of just overt white racism that I had ever encountered.
Would you accept that they were using racism as a weapon and a tool to win? Because that's what some
difference
people
does that
argue.
make?
No, I'm not saying there's a difference. I'm saying, but in their mind, it wasn't that they hated black people. It was that
I don't know what's in their
racism
mind.
was going to separate their opponents from the power that they wanted.
You know
so
what?
they used it.
Let me just tell you this. I do not know what was in the minds of Eddie Verdoliak and Ed Burke. I know that in the aftermath of their of the debacle of what they did, they try to justify it.
Before it was too late.
Yeah, before too well, that was Bernie Epton. They try to justify it by saying, "Oh, well, we didn't really believe it. It was all Pilates."
I think they handed that to Bernie Epton. I think they gave Bernie Epton that
Before
slogan.
too late. I just want to get that point out there. So all of us
I
agree
get
that
it.
was absolutely. Monroe, do you agree with that?
It was very racist.
But, and again, I'm not trying to defend it, but I'm trying to say that in the context of Chicago was a racist, racial city. I mean, even when I grew up, like in the 60s, I'm telling you, race drove neighborhoods, race drove politics. So making the jump to racism, I think you got to at least take it in that context.
All right, listen.
Bob Davis, he was talking about Bob Davis.
The reporter.
Yeah, the reporter for the Tribune. He once told me that they needed, this was before Harold, but he said they needed guys in the press room that they could talk to, that they could speak their lingo with. This was...
Wait, who needed guys in the press room?
The alderman.
They needed white guys.
They needed white guys.
Oh, a translation.
Right, exactly.
So they could get their stories across.
Another thing Bob Davis did one time was he made this quip about one of the aldermen was one of the dumbest white men that he had ever seen. And then he realized that he was saying...
He said it to
me.
you?
Yeah. And he must have read the look on my face because he apologized right there on the spot.
Unbelievable. See, that's what we're dealing with, Ray Hanania. I mean, this is Chicago that I discovered when I moved here. I'm like, God dang, what a city this is. And people would justify it. Well, Ben, you don't understand. We've always hated black people.
I'm going to tell you a secret. In 1973, they lowered the drinking age. And I think it was in 1980.
Yeah.
Bob Davis called. It was a slow day, and Bob Davis went up to Bernie Stone and Fred Rohde and John Madrick, and he said, if you guys want to introduce an ordinance raising the drinking age, there's nothing going on. This will be a front page story. And literally, it became a front page story, and they passed it in Chicago. and they passed it in the state.
That's Democracy Chicago time style. Ray Hanania, Monroe Anderson, Ben Joravsky. Take a break and be right back.
Read the Chicago Reader to get up to speed on what's what in Chicago. Culture, food, arts and entertainment, weekly concert listings, weekly event listings, the environment, travel. I can continue, but you get the point. And for all of you Chicago political junkies, raw weekly columns on real city politics from Maya Dukmasova and our very own Ben Joravsky. The Chicago Reader, free to the public in newsstands throughout the city and online at chicagoreader.com. Read it now and be a more informed Chicagoan.
All right, everybody, it's time to talk about Ben's favorite store. After 5 years in Andersonville, Murray and White have made the difficult decision to close their doors. But everything in the store is now on sale. You can get it if you beat Ben Joravsky. He's been busy this week, all right? He hasn't had time to go. Maybe you can get this stuff before he does. Notable sale items, Voluspa and Nest Fragrances brand candles are 20% off. Just ask the candle man Joravsky over here. He'll tell you all about them. These lines can rarely be found on sale, so while 20% isn't the largest discount, lovers of both these popular candle lines have been buying them up. Ain't that right, Ben?
Oh, got a bunch of them.
Candle man over here. All right, all rugs are 30% off in-store and new orders through June 1st. All floor sample furniture is 30 to 50% off. Antique furniture pieces, 40 to 50% off. Pillows are 40% off. Picture frames, 40% off. Jewelry, 40 to 50% off. Mirrors and wall arts, 30 to 50% off. Home decor and accessories are all 20 to 60% off. Lamps, 50% off. People, I can keep going. Everything is a discount, all right? Store fixtures and lighting is also on sale. Once again, after 5 years in Andersonville, Murray and White have made the difficult decision to close their doors. But right now, head over there, Murray and White in Andersonville, to get some fantastic deals. Ben, save some candles for the others, please.
I'll try.
Thank you. Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show. Take us home, Candleman.
All right. That super cool music means we're coming to the end of another super cool show. Ray Hanania and Monroe Anderson still in the studio. That's Monroe on the organ and Ray playing the keyboards. Yeah, Ray Hanania, excellent on the keyboard. You know that, Dave?
I'm lead guitar.
Oh, he's
I'm
the lead guitar.
Led Zeppelin.
Oh, whoa, Led Zeppelin, man. 1973, Stairway to Heaven. All right. Before we head out the door, I have to ask you this question. We only made it. We're going to do first 100.
Just made it through Washington.
We barely made it to Washington. We didn't even get to ask you about council worship. But that's all right.
This is all a plot to stay away from Donald Trump, okay?
Oh, yeah. Oh, Ray Hanania. That's one of his low moments in his life as a political.
I'm going to say real quick, is that fair? I supported Trump because I wanted him to throw the game board up in the air. I wanted him to destroy everything, and I think that's basically what he's doing.
Done. Yeah,
so are you happy now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. All right, Ray Hanania.
The Arab in me is smiling.
One of his low moments as a citizen with voting rights.
Thanks, Ray.
When Monroe thought I was Puerto Rican, I was a great guy. Now he knows the truth.
Donald Trump just weighed in, right?
Appreciate your support, Ray.
Yeah.
My son does a great Donald Trump.
All right, we'll have to bring him on next time. All right, now I have to ask you this. Both of you have been on. You've each been on both sides of the fence. Monroe was a columnist or writer for the Sun-Times and the Tribune and Newsweek, and then he went to work as a publicist, the chief spokesperson for Mayor Eugene Sawyer. Ray Hanania wrote for my beloved Bright One, the Chicago Sun-Times, for many years, Southtown economist, and then he went to work. I'm laughing. It's not fair. The city of Cicero.
Listen, I represented 22 aldermen.
Yeah.
I represented 3 congressmen. I represented 5 state reps. I represented 4 Cook County commissioners. I did go into the suburbs. How are you going to make money? You want me to starve to death? No angel ever called me up and said, Ray, I need PR.
He was Betty's PR person.
Yeah, before she was actually exposed by me as a crook.
Betty, please tell people who Betty is. No millennial knows who Betty is. Just the last name.
Betty Lauren Maltese.
Who is the mayor of Cicero.
She was convicted of corruption in a very sophisticated mob-run plot. It was just fascinating.
All right, that's a subject for another time. time.
She sounds nice.
She could use some of those candles that we were selling, the scented ones.
And that used to be Al Capone's town.
That is right. And by the way, Ray loves it. No, don't get him started on this. Oh, it's so lazy of reporters.
Listen, I'm a good writer. So I do work for politicians. I only take jobs with politicians that I feel comfortable with, and I will never lie for a politician. But politicians do need to know how to speak better, and that's what I do. I help them take what they want to do, and I translate it into your
English.
language, Ben.
English?
Into your language.
Would you take Sarah Huckabee Sanders' job?
Yeah, I do far better job.
No, I didn't say would you.
No, I would not.
Could
no,
you?
I would not take that job.
All right,
but
so-
I'm telling you, he's going to get reelected. I'm sorry, guys.
All right, wait. Well, that's a subject for. We got to bring him back for the
back.
full
Yeah,
Trump.
right,
We got to bring him back.
Drooling. You notice?
Exactly.
He says he won't even make it out of this first term. Okay.
He's getting reelected.
I
Sorry,
disagree.
guys.
What do
He's
you-
wrong.
He was right. First of all, he didn't win the first time.
Wasn't it
Wait,
Monroe
time out.
Anderson's PR company that did all the polling that said that Hillary was going to win 99%
And Hillary was
of the
winning
poll?
until your buddy Comey stepped
All
up.
right, wait, hold on. Time out. All right, let's just make clear your prediction. You say he's going to win. Will
Yes.
it be an actual win where he gets more votes?
Well,
or
I'm
will
going
it
to
be
say that
electoral
the
college
win by the system that everybody loved until it didn't work
Oh,
for
wait,
them.
time out. I never loved it. Take me out of that list of everybody.
Well, I
What
don't
system
know
are
if
you
he'll get the
talking
most
about?
votes, but
What system are you talking about?
Wait,
talking
like
about
the system?
the electoral
Wait,
college
only system in the world where the loser wins?
The electoral college system. Listen, change it. You probably only have a chance if you do use the majority vote system in the country. If that's how they elected, he won't win.
Let me just say this. If they did basketball the way we do politics, the Portland Trailblazers would have swept the Golden State Warriors because they scored less points.
Yeah.
Okay?
I just interviewed that Ennis Cantor for a newspaper in the Middle East that I write for.
Oh, man, that's a whole
Great
other
guy.
story. It is a great guy. All right, now, so this question I have to ask you. When you become a spokesperson for a politician, do you suddenly have, how do I put, I don't know, hatred's the right word, but utter disdain and contempt for the very reporters that you used to hang out with before you took the job, right?
No, I argue with him. I disagree with him, but no, I don't. Mark Brown and I are still good friends.
Mark Brown's Chicago Sun-Times
Yeah,
columnist.
and maybe there are a couple reporters I don't like Monroe.
He's trumping. I'm his hero.
There's some Kool-Aid, Monroe. Have another drink.
So what's your attitude about this, Monroe?
Oh, no, I liked reporters when I was press secretary, but what I learned was to be very careful about what I said to them. For example, a Tribune, I was talking with a Tribune reporter about something Sawyer had said. And I say to her, because she had been a friend of mine, and so I say to her very casually, as I would a friend just talking, say, well, he talks funny, but he meant to say this. What showed up in the Tribune, his press secretary says he talks funny.
So what did Sawyer say to you?
He didn't say anything.
He funnily
didn't
talked angrily.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, I was so embarrassed by it because I'm his spokesman, right? Until from that point on, I was before I said anything to a reporter.
Well,
I thought about how it would sound or look in print or on the air.
Well, one of the most famous quotes of the Daley years, and I can't remember which press secretary it was. This is original Mayor Daley was, don't write what he says, write what he means.
Right.
And I think was it Bush? Right. Or I don't know who the press secretary was that said it. Maybe Sullivan, I don't know. But that became, like a great line in Chicago politics.
Right, exactly.
All right.
That's a good rule.
Right.
No.
Right. In general. Then you got to try to figure out, well, what does he mean?
That's what Sarah Huckabee Sanders tells us all the time.
Yeah, and it seems like whatever he means changes moment to moment. Anyway, we're going to bring Ray Hanania and Monroe Anderson back sometime. It was a lot of fun. We didn't even get to, we were 1983. All this talk, we're going to do the 100 days.
5 shows to get through the next 12, 15 years.
No, we're going to have the Trump debate. Ray Hanania, a huge Trump fan. You still got that tattoo of Donald Trump on your arm there?
Listen, it was... Politics is relative. I supported Trump because I just couldn't support Hillary. I didn't like her.
All right. Well, we'll get to that. We'll take that
I like
deep
Bernie. He got tanked.
I like Bernie too. All right, Ray Hanania, thanks for coming in. Monroe Anderson, it's always a blast to have you. Also want to thank Kevin Beverly. Remember him, the circus guy, D?
Oh, yeah.
He was from Cirque Du Soleil, okay?
Nice. My favorite part of that, by the way, is when they left. You're like, you kept calling them circus people. I don't know if that's... It just didn't sound too friendly.
They didn't seem to
you guys are
mind.
circus
They're
people.
Circus people. They jumped and threw hoops and stuff. Anyway, and great job by Leah. I want to thank her very much. And, of course, the man, the myth, the legend behind the board. Oh, yeah. The pride and joy of Alton, Illinois. Ray, did you know they call him White Lightning back in Alton, Illinois? Yeah,
he would have made a good alderman from the Southwest Side back in the 80s.
Back in the 80s, yeah.
He would have got you elected. White Lightning.
White Lightning, they call
Before
him.
it's too late.
Dr. D, great job. Give yourself a raise. Take it out of petty cash. See you tomorrow, everybody.
Hey, and remember, you can download previous Ben Joravsky shows at both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites, chicago.suntimes.com/Joravsky and chicagoreader.com. Just look for the Ben Joravsky Show at the top of the Chicago Reader page. Bonus interviews are there as well. We do those every weekend. If you've yet to check those out, go check them out on the same site, chicagoreader.com, chicago.suntimes.com/Joravsky. We'll be back tomorrow.